Chapter 841. Old Master. Do you think Li Zishuan has agreed to Big Brother's request? Duke Wei residence, study room. Hong Fianu held her hair with one hand and swayed in front of Lord Li Jing as she spoke wittily. Lord Li Jing held his forehead and sighed helplessly. Chu-chun, I think you shouldn't have done that. Little Xian is also our junior. How could you scheme against him? When Hong Fianu heard that, her eyes widened and she said loudly, Scheme? How did I scheme against him? I was only telling him the truth. Could it be that Big Brother didn't save that person called Meng Yuliang at sea? From the beginning to the end, did I make up any lies? So how can this be called scheming? Lord Li Jing was instantly speechless. He thought to himself that he really couldn't reason with a woman at any time. Forget it. Just take it as this old man owes that child a favor. Lord Li Jing sighed his heart and thought to himself, Marquis, benefactor, you two go ahead. If there's a chance in the future, Meng Yuliang will visit again. Cloud Mountain residence. Meng Yuliang only sat for a while before he stood up and bid farewell. He also understood that Li Zishuan and the dragon-bearded guest must have something important to discuss. It wasn't convenient for him to continue disturbing them. Speaking of which, if it wasn't for the fact that the dragon-bearded guest was constantly drifting about and came and went without a trace, he wouldn't have rushed over immediately upon hearing news of the dragon-bearded guest. All right, Uncle Meng, take care. Li Zishuan stood up and smiled. Although he had many questions about how Meng Yuliang knew that the dragon-bearded guest was here, the dragon-bearded guest had saved Meng Wenhao's father. This was an irrefutable fact that couldn't be changed no matter what. Everything else didn't seem too important. After sending Meng Yuliang off, there were only two people left in the main hall, an old man and a young man. The two of them stared at each other for a while before Li Zishuan spoke. I can give you the map, but you have to promise me one thing. The bearded man was overjoyed. Previously, there was no room for negotiation. Now, although there were conditions, there was finally room for negotiation. The difference between the two was not small. Ultimately, it was because he had inadvertently saved the father of Li Zishuan's favorite disciple. Even though Li Zishuan did not say it explicitly, it was obvious that he had accepted this favor. Otherwise, his attitude would not have changed like this. What conditions? The bearded guest hurriedly asked. Li Zishuan stood up, clasped his hands behind his back, and lightly said, In a previous martial art competition, it should be considered as your loss, right? The bearded man thought about it seriously and then nodded. That's right, this old man lost. Although Li Zishuan and Mo Huai had teamed up to fight him in the end, he had already lost when Li Zishuan forced his acupoints open due to the threat of death coming from Li Zishuan. A loss was a loss. He, the bearded guest, had traversed the 4 seas. He would never do something so shameless as to refuse to admit his loss. Good. Before the martial arts competition, you said that if I lost, you would exterminate my entire family. But in the end, you clearly lost, so it's a different story. Li Zishuan said with a smile. The bearded guest's face darkened. He said impatiently, Marquis Yongin, just tell me what you want. If I can do it, I will definitely do my best. When Li Zishuan heard this, he revealed a devilish smile, causing the curly-bearded guest, a great demon who had killed countless people, to tremble in fear. This Marquis has always been kind-hearted. I won't do something like exterminating someone's entire family. But since you lost the martial arts competition, you should pay a corresponding price. Moreover, you want this Marquis sea map, so the price you should pay naturally cannot be low. How about this? As long as you are willing to fulfill your responsibilities as a guard at Yanhuang College for a year, this Marquis will hand over the sea map to you. In addition to this request, after you take this Marquis sea map, you also need to help this Marquis find a few things overseas. Once you find them, you will send them back to Chang'an. How about it? Do you agree to these 2 requests? Be a guard for a year. The bearded guest's eyes widened. If it was someone else who said this to him, he would definitely smash that person into a meat patty with his fist. What kind of person was he, the bearded guest? He was the overlord of the sea. How could he be someone's guard? If this were to spread out, how would he be able to survive in the south? However, he had no choice but to agree. First of all, he did lose the martial arts competition that day. Logically speaking, Li Zishuan should be the one to make a request. Moreover, that sea map was truly too important to him. After wandering the sea for so many years, no one knew better than him how rich the wealth of the sea was. If he had the help of Li Zishuan's sea map, where in the world could he not go? Can you change the conditions? For example, this marquis can use money to buy this sea map. The bearded guest said unwillingly. As for the latter condition, he didn't think much of it. At most, it would just take some effort to find something. However, the first condition was asking for his life. As the island master of the 72 islands, he also wanted his face. Li Zishuan narrowed his eyes and said indifferently, "Do you think this marquis is someone who lacks money? Just these two conditions, there's no way to change them. Senior, you also know that I originally didn't want to negotiate with you. However, now that you're unwilling to agree to my conditions, this marquis is powerless to do anything." 2 days ago, other than threatening Li Zishuan's family, the bearded guest also committed another crime, which was to disrupt the order of Cloud Mountain. Accordingly, he had to pay the price and set an example to the people who came after him. He had to let them know that no matter who it was, if they dared to cause trouble in Cloud Mountain, they must be punished. The atmosphere in the main hall suddenly froze. The bearded guest's face was gloomy. He tapped the table with his finger and didn't say a word. Seeing this, Li Zishuan didn't rush him. He waved at Lan who was hiding at the stairs. The little girl put away the wooden sword in her hand and ran towards Li Zishuan with a smile. The brother and sister played a childish game of rock, paper, scissors in front of the bearded guest. They were very happy. After a long time, the bearded guest coughed heavily and said, "Marquis Yoan, this marquis has thousands of brothers under me. This marquis is not someone who can do whatever I want. This matter is very important. Please give this marquis 1 day to consider carefully. Before sunset tomorrow, I will definitely give you an answer." Although his martial arts skills were basically unrivaled, he still had to listen to the opinions of his subordinates. Otherwise, what future could he have as a commander without an army? "Fine. This marquis will wait for you for 1 day." Li Zishuan nodded. He didn't expect the bearded guest to not reject such an unreasonable request on the spot. It was really inconceivable. "Then, this marquis will take his leave first." The bearded guest cupped his hands and left. Of course, in the entire courtyard, no one sent him off. Chapter 842. The next day, Li Zishuan finally woke up early. After having breakfast in the courtyard, he went to Yanwang College. Recently, due to various things as the principal, he had not shown up at Yanhuang College for a long time. Mr. Li Gang had complained about this countless times. If this guy did not show up, Li Gang would probably come personally to catch him. Good morning, Mr. Li. Have you had breakfast yet?" Coincidentally, Li Zishuan, the principal who often liked to slack off, happened to meet the vice principal, who had always been conscientious. Seeing Li Gang looking at him expressionlessly, Li Zishuan could only bite the bullet and go forward to greet him. "Yes." Li Gang nodded and then walked forward with Li Zishuan while saying in a muffled voice, "Seeing that the military training is about to end, Yamacho, you have to arrange the teaching work of the academy as soon as possible. There are so many teachers in the academy. They're all waiting for you to say something." Li Zishuan replied, "Sir, you are right. I will arrange the teaching work as soon as possible." In fact, he was groaning in his heart because he had just received another job from Li Air yesterday, and now the academy was about to get on track. With two things happening at the same time, it was estimated that he would be as busy as a dog in the next month. "Oh, Mr. Yin and Mr. Wang came to me yesterday. They asked me to remind you not to forget about their bet last month." Seeing that Li Zishuan agreed, Li Gang felt a little relieved. Suddenly, he remembered something and suddenly said with some amusement. Li Zishuan was startled. Only then did he remember that Wang Ji and Yin Silu had a quarrel that eventually evolved into a bet. If Li Gang had not mentioned it to him today, he would have really forgotten about it. "Sir, don't worry. I have always remembered this matter in my heart. I will never forget it. Li Zishuan lied through his teeth. Li Gang was old and shrewd. How could he not see that Li Zishuan was lying? However, he didn't expose her. He just smiled and left alone. Beep, beep, beep. Attention. Look to the right. Look forward. At ease. At 7 in the morning, the students of Yanhuang College, who had just finished their breakfast, began to gather on the sports field. Unlike in the past, they didn't start training immediately after they gathered today. The instructors of each class didn't give any more orders after they were in formation. The students were all secretly puzzled. After a while, they saw Li Zishuan on the rostrum of the sports field. Today, Li Zishuan didn't wear a scholarly robe like before. Instead, he wore a loose white silk undershirt, which was a bit similar to the modern training clothes. He looked very elegant and unrestrained. Li Zishuan stood on the rostrum and looked at the neat rows of students below. Each of them had their heads held high and their chests puffed out. They were like sharp swords that pierced the sky. He couldn't help but sigh in his heart. In less than a month, this group of motley crew had been trained by him to look like a decent person. You've become darker and thinner. He was looking at the students, and the students were also looking at him. Just like this, you look at me, I look at you. After about the time it takes to brew a cup of tea, Li Zishuan suddenly opened his mouth and said these 4 words. The students were instantly amused. However, what he said was also true. In this era where there were no skincare products or sunscreen, anyone who was exposed to the sun for a month would become darker. Li Tai's change could be said to be the biggest among them. The white and fat little fatty in the past had now become a young man with dark skin and a medium build. Those who hadn't seen him in the past month would probably not be able to recognize him when they suddenly saw him like this. After a while, the laughter gradually died down. Li Zishuan continued, I know that you've all worked hard in the past month, but the improvement that all of you have received from this military training is obvious. A month of military training has taught you to be strong, and it has also taught you to be united and patient. Haha, all right, let's stop with the small talk. Today is not the day to summarize your military training. Your military training is not over yet. The first half of his words made the students sigh with emotion, but the last half of his half-joking words made many of them smile. Most of them had never seen Li Zishuan speak in such a chatty tone. Now that they heard it, they felt that it was particularly amiable. It was much better than the old-fashioned old men they had met before. Well, since you all welcome me so much, I'll tell you all a piece of good news. Li Zishuan smiled mysteriously. He looked at the students below and said, in the next few days, you won't have to stand in line every day to train. You'll be much more relaxed because I'm going to teach you a set of fist techniques. Whether you know martial arts or not, you can learn it together with me. This set of fist techniques is called Tai Chi. I hope you can learn it well, because it's not just a set of fist techniques. It contains the Tao of heaven and earth. Fist techniques? Yamacho wants to teach us fist techniques. As soon as Li Zishuan finished speaking, the students exclaimed one after another. They didn't understand why Li Zishuan suddenly made such a decision. Of course, Chung Chumo was an exception. This guy had known the news for a long time. It's good to learn fist techniques. It's better than standing in line every day. Yes, this is really good news. The students were extremely happy when they thought that Xian didn't have to train hard for the next 2 days. Okay, quiet down. After a quarter of an hour, Li Zishuan shouted in a deep voice. Then he began to explain, before I teach you fist techniques, I want to tell you what Tai Chi is. The so-called Tai Chi is the process of the universe from the infinite to the Tai Chi and the process of all things. The Tai Chi is the state before heaven and earth were created and before yin and yang were separated. The Book of Changes once said, when Tai Chi existed, yin and yang were born. Tai Chi means that before heaven and earth were separated, primordial Chi was mixed into one. This Tai Chi contains the truth of heaven and earth. You must understand it well. Next, I'll show you once. You can remember as much as you can. Don't force it. After that, Li Zishuan began to close his eyes and calm his mind. After a while, when his essence, Qi, and spirit reached the best state, he opened his eyes. He drew a circle with his toes, and his hands formed a circle. The robe on his body also slowly danced with the agitation of his body's qi. He looked quite like an expert. Tai Chi Yin and Yang Xian Li Ming. Thousands of changes do not leave the principle. Defend and neutralize without bias. Only when you understand the loosening and tightening skills will you succeed. Li Zexuan recited the incantation to the students while he formed a circle with his hands. His body and movements gradually stretched out. Now his strength had reached the middle stage of Grandmaster. In addition, after so many life and death struggles, his understanding of Tai Chi was far from what it was before. The most intuitive manifestation was that his every move now contained a trace of Tao. Ordinary people and people at low levels naturally couldn't see the difference. But Qin Xiong and Mo Huai, who were on the side of the field, saw the clues. This. Every move is Tao. Taoism has existed for thousands of years. I'm afraid such a person is extremely rare, isn't it? Qin Xiong looked at Li Zexuan, who was dancing on the rostrum. He was so shocked that he almost pulled his beard off. He muttered to himself in a low voice. Mo Huai was also shocked. He felt that this scene in front of him was even more shocking than when he saw Li Zexuan break through to the middle stage of Grandmaster the day before yesterday. Tao follows nature. This is Tao following nature. It's a great fortune for Taoism to have such a person. If this Tai Chi is practiced deeply, it can definitely be called the supreme fist technique. I didn't expect Yamacho to so casually make it public. What a pity. Qin Xiong had come to his senses at this time. He smiled and said, "Brother Mo, you worry too much. To reach Xiao Xian's level of mastery in Taiji fist, without the guidance of a master, it would be harder than ascending to the heavens. Others might only be able to grasp the form, but not the essence. Take this old man, for example. After practicing for so long, I can't even reach 30% of Xiao Xian's mastery in Taiji fist. It can be seen that Tai Chi is not as easy to practice as it seems on the surface." Qin Xiong's words could be said to have revealed the secret. Tai Chi paid the most attention to the fist intent and one's own understanding. Among 100 people, there were 100 different understandings of Tai Chi, but only one or two of them could go a little further on the road of Tai Chi. General Qin's words are reasonable. I've learned a lot. When Mo Huai heard this, he felt relieved and cupped his hands with a smile. As the saying goes, the layman enjoys the show, while the expert appreciates the skill. The two of them saw the skill clearly, but the students on the sports field were watching the show. However, this show was not ordinary. In their eyes, Li Zexuan's every move was full of poetry and painting, as if it had a natural feeling. Just looking at it made people feel very comfortable. Simply put, it was pleasing to the eye. At this moment, all the students were deeply intoxicated by the Tai Chi concept that Li Zexuan had drawn. They couldn't help but hold their breaths. Their minds moved with Li Zexuan's moving fists, as if they were in another world. Every move was Tao. Qin Xiong was right. This was Li Zexuan's current Tai Chi realm. Not only could he immerse his mind into the realm of forgetfulness, but he could also guide the minds of the people around him with lower martial arts realms into his Tai Chi realm to comprehend the great Tao of heaven and earth contained in the Tai Chi realm. However, Li Zexuan himself didn't know all of this. At this moment, he had entered the realm of forgetfulness and couldn't hear or see what was happening around him. He only subconsciously performed the Tai Chi in his mind. Li Zexuan was Tai Chi, and Tai Chi was Li Zexuan. After practicing Tai Chi for Qin Xiong at the Qin family, he finally merged with Tai Chi again to form a complete ball. Tai Chi had already fused into his body, accompanying the beating of his heart and even accompanying his breathing. There was fog around Li Zexuan. His body emitted heat, and the heat and fog condensed together. At this moment, a flock of birds flew over from the forest on the west side of the cloud mountain. They stopped in the air above the rostrum and actually started to dance with Li Zexuan's movements. Not a single bird made a sound during the process. Tao followed nature. Li Zexuan had really merged himself with nature. He penetrated his mind into every moment of his movements. He was light, but not floating, soft, but not soft. He was relaxed and heavy at the same time. It was as if he was floating in the water, floating in the Yangtze River. His waist was like a wheel, and his mind surged as he swam continuously. After a short 15 minutes, his entire body was drenched in sweat. His clothes were already soaked. However, his face was even redder, and his skin was even fairer. He appeared to be in a sparkling and translucent state. Arm support, knee support, mind support. If you don't support yourself, support yourself, support yourself, support yourself, support yourself. As the last fist technique was performed, Li Zixuan drew a circle in front of him with the tip of his foot. His body slowly retracted. He stood at attention and gently exhaled a mouthful of turbid air. This set of Taiji fist made him feel extremely satisfied. At this moment, the birds in the sky seemed to have just woken up from their sleep. They scattered and flew in all directions. The students below the stage were all still in a state of intoxication. When Li Zixuan came back to his senses and saw this, he just smiled and didn't say anything to disturb them. He hoped that the students would be able to realize something from his high-level demonstration. Taiji, light but not floating, soft but not soft, is relaxed and heavy at the same time. What magical fist technique! This little kid is full of secrets. Why have I never heard of such a profound fist technique in the Jianghu before? Under a big tree outside the sports field, a bearded man looked at Li Zixuan on the rostrum of the sports field and whispered to himself. That's right, this guy was the bearded man. He was the person who almost became the head of security of Yanhuang College. Needless to say, he must have snuck in while hiding from the college's guards. If Pang Feiji and Mo Zhong knew about this, they would definitely be pissed to death. Of course, no one would have thought that this famous pirate in the Jianghu would actually come to Yanhuang College to secretly learn. Wow, this Taiji fist looks really good. No, I have to learn it well. No. I think it's mainly because Yamacho is good at it. If it was someone else, they definitely wouldn't be able to do it to this extent. Taiji is the birth of yin and yang. I seem to have thought of something unusual from this Taiji fist. After half a quarter of an hour, the students on the field began to come back to their senses. Suddenly, there was an endless wave of exclamations. Chung Chumo scratched his head. His mind had just been brought into the Taiji realm by Li Zixuan. Then he wandered around the Taiji realm and came back. He had some enlightenment in his heart, but he couldn't tell what it was. His realm was a little loose, but it was not enough for him to break through. He was in the temporary boundary between breaking through and not breaking through. To put it in layman's terms, it was like wanting to take a dump, but couldn't do it after squatting for a long time. However, Chung Chumo wasn't too discouraged. This was because he had learned so much just by watching Li Zixuan practice Taiji fist once. If he completely learned Li Zixuan's Taiji fist later on, with so much enlightenment, wouldn't it be easy to break through? Chapter 843. How about it? Do you want to learn Tai Chi? Looking at the stupefied students below, Yi Zichen said. Li Zixuan put his hands behind his back and smiled. Yes. The students were silent for a moment, then suddenly burst into a tsunami of cheers. Li Zixuan looked so cool when he was practicing Tai Chi just now. Young people were all hot-blooded, and they all worshipped heroes. Although many people did not see the battle between Li Zixuan and the bearded man on Yinshan 2 days ago, because they were on holiday, they more or less heard about it when school started yesterday. Today, they saw Li Zixuan's super high-level and magic fist technique demonstration with their own eyes. In their hearts, they had already regarded Li Zixuan as a hero who excelled in both the pen and the sword. Since you all want to learn, then do your best. All the instructors of the academy will follow suit and learn. In the future, you will be in charge of teaching the students of each class. This was not because Li Zixuan was lazy, but because he still had a lot of things to do. He could not teach Tai Chi every day here, so he said this. Yes, Yamacho. In the academy, usually no one would call Li Zixuan Marquis. When Pang Feiji and the other instructors heard this, they were all extremely excited. In fact, even if Li Zixuan didn't say it, they had already made up their minds to secretly learn it. Now that they could learn it openly, it couldn't be better. Okay, now we will start teaching Tai Chi, all of you. Pay attention. After loudly reminding, Li Zishuan moved his left foot out, held his hands in a circle, and slowly recited the formula, Tai Chi Yin Yang, Xian Li Ming. Thousands of changes, thousands of transformations, but does not leave the sect. Defend and neutralize without bias. Understand the loosening and tightening technique, then you will succeed. The students below followed suit, imitating Li Zishuan's movements and saying in unison, Tai Chi Yin Yang, Xian Li Ming. Thousands of changes, thousands of transformations, but does not leave the sect. Defend and neutralize without bias. Understand the loosening and tightening technique, then you will succeed. Their movements were neat and uniform, and their chants shook the sky. The Yanhuang College teachers outside the field were all shocked by this spectacular scene. This Taiji fist is soft and gentle. The movements are not hard to remember, and the posture is generous and proper. In this old man's opinion, it is quite suitable for us old arms and legs to practice. Li Gang squinted his eyes. He was somewhat attracted by Li Zishuan's Taiji fist demonstration. As soon as he said he would do it, he began to imitate it. Yin Silu, Wang Ji, and other older teachers of the academy also began to practice Tai Chi with Li Gang. However, when the two old men were sparring, they did not forget to bicker with each other. It's almost a month's time. Why aren't you preparing for the examination? Why are you still putting on an act here? I think you don't want to be a teacher of this academy anymore, do you? Yin Silu seriously imitated Li Zishuan's movements and snorted lightly. Wang Ji's face froze, and he immediately retorted, "Oh, you don't have to worry, Yin Kong Gue. This old man is already prepared. You just wait to lose the bet, and then you will treat this old man to a month of wine." "Huh. You're really a toad yawning. What a big tone. Wait until you pass the Yamacho-S examination." Li Zishuan spent the entire morning teaching the 48 simplified forms of Yang's Tai Chi to the students one by one. Pang Feiji and the others all knew Kung Fu, so they naturally learned it faster than most of the students. Before lunch, they had already memorized the main points of each move. Li Zishuan was naturally happy and at ease. In the afternoon, he let Pang Feiji and the other instructors teach Tai Chi to the students. He himself patrolled around and personally guided the students who did not follow the rules. Of course, when he saw Li Gang, Yin Silu, Wang Ji, and the others practicing Tai Chi, he could not help but feel a little strange. It felt like he had seen those old men and women practicing Tai Chi in the park in his previous life. He thought to himself, will this be the scenery of Yanhuang College in the future? Hey, little Xian, wait. During the break, Li Zishuan was about to leave the field and go to his office when he heard Cheng Chumo's voice behind him. He turned around and waited for Cheng Chumo to run over. He asked, "What's wrong? Ugly bull." "Huh, nothing big. I just wanted to ask, little Xian, are you busy? If you're not busy, can you teach me Tai Chi personally?" Cheng Chumo scratched his head and asked embarrassedly, "Why? Isn't Uncle Chin teaching class 1? Why don't you learn from anyone?" Li Zishuan said unhappily. What he meant was, don't be unreasonable and don't bother me. I'm very busy. Cheng Chumo, of course. He did not understand Li Zishuan's meaning. He straightened his neck and said, "No, I feel like I'm about to break through, but Pang Feiji and Uncle Chin's Tai Chi is not as good as yours. Little Xian, please help me. If I don't break through soon, my dad will definitely not let me off easily." Li Zishuan looked at Cheng Chumo suspiciously. He did not expect Cheng Chumo to show signs of breaking through after watching Tai Chi for an entire morning. He thought to himself, when did this blockhead become enlightened? Okay, come with me. I will give you a few pointers. Whether you can break through or not will depend on your luck. Martial arts is not something that can be forced. When the time comes, even if you don't break through, Uncle Cheng will definitely not do anything to you. Since Cheng Chumo said so, how could Li Zishuan not help him? After all, this guy was his first brother in Tang Dynasty. Huh, I knew you were a good friend, little Xian. When I break through, I will invite you to Drunken Immortal Restaurant for a drink. Cheng Chumo laughed proudly. Li Zixuan looked at this shameless guy in annoyance. Invite me to Drunken Immortal Restaurant for a meal? Do I need you to treat me to a meal at Drunken Immortal Restaurant? He was so king shameless. Master, can I go with you? Since the place where the two of them were talking was not far from Class 1's resting area, Iron Egg had already noticed the two of them whispering and followed them. When he heard that Li Zixuan was going to give Cheng Chumo special treatment, he quickly asked. Not only did Cheng Chumo want to break through, he also wanted to, haha, one is teaching, two is still teaching. Come with me. Li Zixuan smiled and turned to walk out of the sports field. Cheng Chumo and Iron Egg naturally followed. After a while, they followed Li Zixuan to the open space in front of Guanghua Building, the main building of Yanwan College. Li Zixuan turned around and looked at Cheng Chumo, saying, "You attack me." Cheng Chumo was stunned, and then he quickly shook his head and said, "Damn it, little Xian, do you think I'm stupid? You are now at the Grandmaster middle stage. You want me to attack you? Isn't that asking me to die? No way." He had heard that Li Zixuan had beaten the half-step great Grandmaster Bearded Man until his face was swollen. He would not be so stupid as to teach Li Zixuan a lesson. Chapter 844. In front of the main building of Yanwan College. Hearing Cheng Chumo's words, Li Zixuan rolled his eyes helplessly and said, "Just attack when I tell you to. Do you still want to break through?" Cheng Chumo still straightened his neck and refused. Although I want to break through, I don't want to get beaten up for no reason." Li Zixuan was furious. "Useless. Don't worry. I'll use my body refinement realm, True Qi, to take your attack. Stop wasting time and attack. Remember to watch my movements carefully." Cheng Chumo was overjoyed when he heard this. Normally, he would not have the chance to fight Li Zixuan on equal footing. This will do. Little Xian, take this." Cheng Chumo clenched his fists and concentrated his true qi in his dantian. After a roar, his whole body pounced on Li Zixuan, and his fist flew directly towards Li Zixuan's chest. Speed, strength, angle. The three were all present and combined into one. Speaking of which, although Cheng Chumo's true qi was slightly lower, he was still one of the best in terms of strength among people of the same level. Whoosh! The fist was swift and fierce, with a trace of strong wind, and rushed directly towards Li Zixuan's chest. Iron Egg held his breath and stared at Li Zixuan without blinking. He wanted to see how his master would deal with this aggressive punch. Of course, he was not worried that his master would be hurt at all. In his eyes, his master was invincible, no matter who came. When Cheng Chumo's fist was 3 inches away from Li Zixuan's chest, Li Zixuan stretched out his hand, and then stretched out his palm and gently flicked it. Li Zixuan did not even use his true qi, but Cheng Chumo seemed to be out of control. After a circle, his attack missed. What's going on? I didn't feel you use your true qi, little Xian. How could you take my attack? After Cheng Chumo stabilized his body, he scratched his head and muttered with a puzzled face. "What? Did you forget?" Li Zixuan asked. Cheng Chumo frowned and thought for a moment, and said gloomily, "I forgot." Again, Li Zixuan said. So, Cheng Chumo once again moved his dantian, clenched his hands into fists, and rushed at Li Zixuan with a faster speed, a heavier force, and a more tricky angle. Li Zixuan smiled, and when Cheng Chumo rushed in front of him, he stretched out his right hand. It was the same attack, but Cheng Chumo's punch seemed to have fallen into a swamp, and his body was also sent flying. Bang! The miserable Cheng Chumo fell to the ground on his butt. "Did you forget?" Li Zixuan asked again. Cheng Chumo frowned and carefully recalled Li Zixuan's movements just now. After a while, he still replied, "I forgot." Again, Li Zixuan said. They did this 3 or 4 times. Cheng Chumo fell harder each time, and Li Zixuan seemed to be playing house every time. He didn't use much strength at all. Iron Egg next to him was stunned. He used all his mind to carefully watch Li Zishuan's every move, trying to imprint it in his heart. Did you forget? After countless times, Li Zishuan looked at Cheng Chumo lying on the ground and asked again. Cheng Chumo struggled to get up from the ground, and his face and hair were covered with a lot of dust. He said very awkwardly, I forgot. Li Zishuan didn't tell Cheng Chumo to do it again this time. At this moment, his face was as black as the bottom of a pot. Xiaoxian, do you want to do it again? I can definitely remember it. Seeing Li Zishuan's ugly face, Cheng Chumo felt a little guilty and asked weakly, Do it again, your sister. Do you think you're Zhang Wuji? Li Zishuan couldn't hold it in any longer and cursed loudly. In his previous life, he read Heaven's Sword and Dragon Saber. When Zhang Sanfeng was teaching Zhang Wuji the Taiji sword art, Zhang Sanfeng finished one sword art and asked, Child, did you see it clearly? Zhang Wuji said, I saw it clearly. Zhang Sanfeng said, Do you remember it all? Zhang Wuji said, I forgot about half of it. Zhang Sanfeng said, Okay, it's hard for you. Think about it yourself. Zhang Yuanji lowered his head and thought. After a while, Zhang Sanfeng asked, How is it now? Zhang Wuji said, I forgot about half of it. Later, Zhang Sanfeng demonstrated it again. Zhang Wuji said, There's still 3 moves that I didn't forget. Zhang Sanfeng didn't get angry. After a while, Zhang Wuji said, Now I've forgotten all of it. I've forgotten everything. When everyone heard this, they were worried sick. They thought to themselves, Is there something wrong with this child's brain? How can you forget all the martial arts that great master taught you? Unexpectedly, Zhang Sanfeng's old face bloomed with a smile, praising his grandson's talent. Li Zishuan still remembered the feeling of blood boiling when he saw this scene. But now that it was his turn, he knew that Zhang Sanfeng was deliberately showing off in the movie. Because he had demonstrated it to Cheng Chumo more than 3 times now, Cheng Chumo naturally forgot all of his answers. But he felt that Cheng Chumo didn't remember at all, not just forget. Zhang Wuji? Who's Zhang Wuji? Hearing Li Zishuan spit out such a ridiculous sentence, Cheng Chumo felt that his brain wasn't working well. It's your sister. I'll demonstrate it one last time. If you can't remember my movements, you won't be able to understand the concept of Taiji fist. If you can't understand the concept, you can forget about breaking through. Li Zishuan said angrily, It's my sister? I don't have a sister. Besides, why isn't my sister's surname Cheng, but Zhang? F***CK. So Xiaoxian, you're scolding my mother. This is too much. Cheng Chumo muttered to himself. This guy's brain circuit was really unique. He actually involved his parents in this matter. Iron Egg, who was next to him, was holding back his laughter. It was very difficult for him to hold it in. Li Zishuan really wanted to lift the top of this guy's head to see if there was a dung beetle inside. Why are you talking so much nonsense? Come and attack me. This is your last chance. Li Zishuan resisted the urge to curse and said with a livid face. Hearing this, Cheng Chumo hurriedly focused all of his attention, gathered all of his strength, and charged at Li Zishuan with an indomitable will. Li Zishuan's movements were still the same, but Cheng Chumo seemed to be enlightened this time. After he got up from the ground, he shouted, Ha ha! I'll remember it. I'll remember it. I didn't forget it this time. The way he smiled made him look like a 200-pound child. Oh, you remember it? Then tell me, what movements did I use just now? How did I neutralize your attacks? Li Zishuan glanced at the idiot and asked in annoyance. Chapter 845. The dusty Cheng Chumo seemed to have felt Li Zishuan's anger. He patted the dust off his body, and for a rare moment, his face became serious. Then he seriously thought for a long time and said, I attacked a total of 5 times, but Xiaoxian, you used the same moves and even the same strength to dissolve my attacks. Li Zishuan nodded and said, Yes, that's right. I used the same moves and the same strength. After getting the affirmation, Cheng Chumo gained a little more confidence and continued to say, But, Xiaoxian, you used the same moves, but the results were different every time. The first time, you only dissolved the strength of my fist and made me spin in a circle. The second time, I felt my whole body sink into a pile of mud, and I couldn't move even if I wanted to. Then, you gently flicked me, and I fell to the ground. The next few times, I fell in a different way, and each time I fell harder than the last. Damn, Xiaoxian, don't you know how to be merciful? Li Zishuan rolled his eyes and thought, if I were merciful, you wouldn't have learned anything. However, he was quite satisfied with Chang Chumo's conclusion. Even a blockhead could be enlightened. Then, did you learn anything from our few exchanges? Li Zishuan pursed his lips and asked faintly. Learn? Chang Chumo's eyes first showed a trace of confusion. Then he fell into deep thought and stood still on the ground. Li Zishuan saw this and didn't disturb him. He, an iron egg, stood quietly by the side and waited. After about 15 minutes, Chang Chumo finally returned to normal. His eyes were blazing. At least Li Zishuan and Iron Egg had known him for so long, but they had never seen him with such eyes. Chang Chumo walked quickly to Li Zishuan and asked excitedly, I understood. Xiaoxian, you were teaching me how to use my strength? Am I right? This kid is worth teaching. Li Zishuan heard this and couldn't help but laugh. Ha ha, you guessed right. I didn't expect you to be enlightened. In fact, if you only talk about strength, there are very few people who can beat you in the same realm. But although you are full of strength, there is no strength in your body. It's like writing. You have to use ink evenly, the thickness is appropriate, and the density is fine. Only then can you become a master. If you don't know how to use strength, even if you have the best ink and paper, the words you write will only be like a dog scratch. Ugly bull, do you understand? The number of times Chang Chumo was serious today was more than in the previous month. Maybe it was because Chang Yaojin had pushed him too far. After listening to Li Zishuan's philosophical words, he pondered for a moment. After a while, he nodded and said, Xiaoxian, I understand. In fact, you borrowed my strength to hit me. I was wondering why you didn't use any Jinqi at all. Li Zishuan praised. Yes. Chumo, your eyesight has improved a lot today. Tai Chi emphasizes using softness to overcome hardness, borrowing strength to fight strength, and Taoism emphasizes the balance of yin and yang. Chumo, your brute strength is the yang of Tai Chi. What you lack now is the yin of Tai Chi. In other words, what you lack is the knack of using your strength. After you understand this, go and learn Tai Chi. I believe you will definitely gain a lot. Chang Chumo had been with Li Zishuan for so long, but he had never received such praise before. He couldn't help but grin. Hee, I also think that my brain is working very well today. Since you said so, Xiaoxian, I will go back and learn Tai Chi from Uncle Qi now. Yes, go. I have taught you everything that needs to be taught. As long as you put your heart into it, it will not be difficult for you to break through. Li Zishuan nodded. Chang Chumo saluted Li Zishuan, then nodded to Iron Egg and turned to leave. Master, Iron Egg's lips moved. He wanted to say something, but stopped. Li Zishuan smiled and said, You boy, what's wrong? Are you moved? Do you want to break through as soon as possible? Iron Egg nodded embarrassedly and said, Yes, yes. In fact, Li Zishuan was extremely unqualified as a master. When Iron Egg lived in the Li Mansion in Chang and City, Li Zishuan often arranged some training tasks for him. Although it was very tiring, at least there was someone to guide him. However, after Yanwang College opened, Iron Egg began to live on campus. Li Zishuan's guidance for him became less and less. He could only continue to train as before. Therefore, until now, he was still at the peak of the Qi-channeling realm and had not entered the body-refining realm. As Li Zishuan's disciple, he felt ashamed of himself. Ha! You brat! I did not rush you like Lu Gugong did. Why are you in such a hurry? Li Zishuan laughed and scolded. To be honest, he wasn't worried about Tai Dan Er's cultivation base at all. He felt that it was best to let nature take its course. This was the same for him. He had never deliberately tried to raise his cultivation base from the beginning to the end. Master, Iron Egg did not want to embarrass you. Iron Egg lowered his head and said, I have never cared about other people's opinions. Cultivation, let nature take its course. Everyone's life is only a few decades. As long as you are happy, Everything will be fine. Speaking of this, Li Zixuan suddenly felt a little emotional in his heart. Iron Egg was silent. After a while, he said, "Master, Iron Egg does not understand what you said. Iron Egg just wants to become stronger. When Master is in danger, Iron Egg can also help." Li Zixuan felt warm in his heart. As a master, he had never intended to let his disciple protect him. However, when he heard Iron Egg's words, his heart was still touched. Huh, since Iron Egg is so determined, then Master will also give you some advice. Thank you, Master. Iron Egg immediately thanked him happily. Li Zixuan thought for a while and said, Iron Egg, you are different from Cheng Chimo. Chimo has a good family background and has been practicing martial arts since he was a child. Not only did he take medicinal baths, but he was also personally trained and polished by Lu Guogong. His foundation is naturally deeper than yours. Tai Chi is yin and yang. Cheng Chimo only lacks yin and not yang. However, you lack both yin and yang. If you want to break through and practice Tai Chi as soon as possible, in addition to continuing to strengthen your training, you have to follow the methods I just told Cheng Chimo and learn to use strength. Only in this way can you go further on the path of Tai Chi. Iron Egg nodded seriously and said, Thank you, Master, for your teachings. Iron Egg will remember them. Li Zixuan smiled and said, Okay, go back and continue to learn Tai Chi. Yes, Master. Iron Egg responded and turned to leave. Chapter 846. Come out. You've been peeping for so long. Haven't you seen enough? After Iron Egg left, Li Zixuan didn't leave immediately. He put his hands behind his back and said calmly to the air, Silence, complete silence. It seemed like Li Zixuan heard wrongly. After 3 breaths, Li Zixuan still didn't leave and stood rooted to the ground. The Marquis of Yong and is so alert. I've only been here for a short while, and you've already noticed me. Admirable, admirable. A person suddenly jumped down from the tree behind Li Zixuan. Who else could it be but the bearded man? Senior, are you also like this when you're a guest at Duke Wei's house? Li Zixuan turned around and sneered at the bearded man. The bearded man was speechless. He was a pirate, but he wasn't a thief. How could he do this kind of sneaky and shady business often? From what I know, Senior came to the academy early in the morning, right? Li Zixuan exposed the bearded man's lie mercilessly. Actually, when he was teaching Taiji Fist in the morning, he felt a little uncomfortable, as if someone was peeping on him. In the modern world, people often joked that if looks could kill, someone would definitely die a horrible death. In this life, at this moment, Li Zixuan truly experienced the power of looks. Cough, 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 cough. The bearded man was instantly embarrassed after his lie was exposed. However, his face didn't even turn red. It was mainly because his face was dark, and it wasn't easy to see that he was red. I saw that the Marquis of Yong's fist technique was quite magical and was excited to see it. That's why I couldn't help but take a few more glances. The bearded man explained awkwardly. Then, Senior, have you heard of the saying Tao is not passed down to the wrong person, and Tao is not passed down to the wrong person? No matter how exquisite this Marquis Taiji Fist is, it's not very good for Senior to secretly learn it like this, right? Li Zixuan didn't give up. He was very angry about the sudden intrusion of the bearded man. Yanhuang College was his blood, sweat, and tears. He wouldn't allow people with strong martial arts to treat this place as their own backyard, coming and going as they pleased. This, Marquis Yonan, you've already taught the Taiji Fist to so many people. Regardless of the era, secretly learning from others was despised by the people of Jianghu. The bearded man wasn't willing to be labeled with such a label. Thus, he glared and defended himself. This Marquis only imparted it to people from Yanhuang College. Have I ever said that I would impart it to outsiders? Li Zixuan sneered. The bearded man's expression froze, and he was instantly speechless. Taking without permission was stealing, and he was learning without permission. It was no different from stealing. You can't say it like that. I'm here today to tell you that I've decided to become a guard of Yanhuang College. In that case, I can't be considered an outsider, right? Suddenly, the bearded man's eyes lit up, and he said with a smile. Li Zixuan's expression didn't change, but he was shocked in his heart. He never thought that the curly-bearded guest would actually sacrifice a year of his freedom for a mere sea map. Was it really worth it? Senior, have you really thought it through? Li Zixuan stared at the bearded man and asked in a deep voice. Of course, always mean what I say. The bearded man replied with a look of certainty. In fact, Li Zixuan was mistaken. The reason why the bearded man agreed to such a harsh request, other than the sea map, was that he saw hope for a breakthrough from Yanhuang College, Taiji Fist, and Li Zixuan. He had been stuck in the half-step Grandmaster realm for several years. To some extent, the bearded man's situation was very similar to Cheng Chumo's. They were both people who had strength but couldn't use it in the right place. The theory of Taiji Yin and Yang that Li Zixuan had just told Cheng Chumo made the bearded man, who didn't have any hope of breaking through, suddenly see a tiny bit of hope. Therefore, he agreed to join Yanhuang College with Li Zixuan. Although becoming a guard didn't sound good, in order to break through, it was all worth it. It wasn't an exaggeration, because ordinary people would never be able to understand the desire of a top master to break through, especially now that there was only one grandmaster left in the martial arts world of the Central Plains. The bearded man was eager to find a sense of existence. Senior, don't you think that being a guard in the college is a bit of an insult to your identity? Li Zixuan asked faintly. Huh? Insult? That's not necessarily true, right? If it was in the past, the bearded man would definitely feel that being a guard in Yanhuang College would weaken his prestige. However, after a few days of contact, he realized that Yanhuang College was really a place of crouching tigers and hidden dragons. Ordinary people wouldn't think that a small mountain like Yinshan would have a Grandmaster Peak, a Grandmaster Middle Stage, whose combat strength was close to that of a Grandmaster Peak, and 30 to 40 experts in the Qi transformation realm. This strength could be regarded as the strength of a superior sect in the martial arts world. But don't forget that Yinshan wasn't a sect in the martial arts world. It was a place for academics, which was the most deceptive. 2 days ago, when the bearded man was beaten to the ground, he had cursed in his heart, say, "Why are you hiding so many experts in a place for teaching?" It made him fail to show off, and instead he was attacked, calling Li Zixuan a fraud. Rest assured, Marquis Yon, since I've agreed to be a guard in Yanhuang College, I'll definitely do my best. In the future, if anyone dares to cause trouble in Yinshan, I'll teach them a lesson. The bearded man was a little worried that Li Zixuan wouldn't agree, so he quickly expressed his stance solemnly. In the eyes of many people, it was embarrassing for him to be a guard in Yanhuang College. However, the bearded man was thinking that if he, a half-step grandmaster, wanted to be a guard in Yanhuang College and was rejected, wouldn't that be even more embarrassing? All right, since Senior insists, then I welcome you on behalf of Yanhuang College. Senior, you can call me Yamacho like everyone else in the future. Li Zixuan thought about it seriously and realized that this matter was beneficial to him. So he smiled and said to the bearded man, "Huh, then Yamacho, you could just call me Zhang San in the future. In terms of strength, you and I should be on the same level." Zhang Zhongjin's surname was Zhang Xingsan, and his red beard was like a dragon. Hence, he was known as the bearded man. Zhang San was a name that very few people would call him. In the martial arts world, strength had always been important, not age. Li Zixuan was already a middle-stage grandmaster at a young age, so he was completely worthy of being on the same level as the bearded man. No, I'll call you Mr. Zhang San. In the future, other than being a guard in the college, I hope you can also be a martial arts instructor in the college. If there are any martial arts enthusiasts in the college who want to learn from you, I hope you can teach them. Chapter 847. With a different standpoint, one's attitude towards things would be different. When the bearded man barged into the Yinshan courtyard and wanted to kill Li Zixuan's entire family, Li Zixuan felt that this bearded man deserved to die. At that time, he had indeed intended to do so. Even if he didn't kill the bearded man, he would at least cripple him. In the end, Li Jing and Hong Funu came. so he had no choice but to stop. However, he still hated the bearded man. Yesterday, the bearded man came to Li Zishuan and asked for the sea map. He changed his arrogant and despotic attitude, causing Li Zishuan's attitude towards him to change slightly. Today, the bearded man took the initiative to ask to be the Academy's guard. From now on, the Academy had a half-step great Grandmaster expert. This made Li Zishuan's mood very good, and he felt that this guy wasn't that annoying. Huh, good. Yamacho, don't worry. I'm not that kind of petty person. Seeing that Li Zishuan's attitude towards him had started to become better, the bearded man was in a good mood and said with a smile. Li Zishuan nodded and then brought the bearded man to Guanghua Building while chatting. They mainly talked about the bearded man's experiences on the sea. In his previous life, Li Zishuan had a lot of yearning for life on the sea after watching One Piece's anime. Now that he could listen to China's earliest pirate talk about life on the sea, it felt pretty good. The addition of a powerful bearded guard on Cloud Mountain caused quite a stir among the students. This was because many people had seen this bearded man before. He was the one who had been beaten up by Li Zishuan a few days ago and had come to Cloud Mountain to cause trouble. It was said that this bearded man had now become a guard of Cloud Mountain and was also a martial arts instructor. Thus, many students came to watch out of admiration. The next day, Mr. Zhang San, are you really the Feng Chun 3 heroes? And of course it's the real deal. Mr. Zhang San, how is your relationship with Duke Wei? Medicine Master and I are sworn brothers. What do you think? Mr. Zhang San, are your martial arts very powerful? Hee, it's all right. Then what's your ranking in Jianghu? Well, no matter what, he should be in the top 5, right? Wow, that's amazing. But why were you beaten up by Yamacho that day? Mr. Zhang San, did you enjoy being beaten up by the Yamacho that day? Underscore. The bearded guest originally felt that it was quite interesting to chat with these young students. However, he didn't know which brat had to mention which pot didn't boil and purposely dug a hole for him to jump into, causing him to fall into an incomparably awkward situation. Are you still feeling good? King awesome. He really wanted to grab that naughty student and beat him up while asking, can't you King have a good chat? Sigh, forget it. I'm a great man who doesn't mind petty people. I won't argue with a brat like you. It's time to go to the cafeteria. Speaking of which, the food at Yanwang College was really good. In comparison, what he had eaten at Apothecary's house 2 days ago was simply like eating chaff. Hey, third brother, wait. Let's gather around the table for lunch. Let's have a good gathering. Pang Feiji suddenly rushed out from behind and shouted towards the bearded guest. Speaking of which, it hasn't even been a day, and Pang Feiji actually called him third brother. He was really shameless because at this age, the bearded guest was almost old enough to be his father. Haha, good. Tell the brothers to come over. Today, I'll treat. Order whatever you want to eat. The bearded guest laughed heartily. He was a pirate leader. Of course, he didn't lack money. Moreover, the food in the Yanwang College cafeteria was not expensive at all. It was much cheaper than outside. Even if 40 or 50 people ate together, it wouldn't cost much. Okay. Pang Feiji, thank you, third brother. Pang Feiji laughed. It wasn't that he liked to kneel down and lick someone's boots, but it was mainly because the bearded guest's strength was worthy of his respect. Moreover, he wanted the bearded guest to give him some pointers on martial arts. After all, he, Pang Feiji, had never seen a half-step grandmaster in his life. Now, not only did he see one, he even had the chance to work with him. If he didn't seize the opportunity to build a good relationship with the bearded guest, wouldn't there be something wrong with his brain? Compared to Pang Feiji and the bearded guest's leisure, Li Zishuan was extremely busy these 2 days. Currently, his main task was to conduct a teaching test for all the teachers in Yanwang College. Of course, the first one to be tested was Wang Ji. Because of this old man had made a bet with Yin Silu, saying that if he could pass Li Zishuan's test with full marks within a month, Yin Silu would treat him to wine for a month. At that time, Yin Silu didn't want to accept the bet, but Wang Ji purposely set a trap for him. Yin Silu made up his mind and accepted the bet. Not only Yin Silu, but Li Zishuan was also dragged down by Wang Ji. According to the bet, if Wang Ji passed the test with full marks, Li Zishuan would give Wang Ji a bucket of drunken immortal and 5 strings of cash every month as his monthly salary. Hey, I don't know how this old fellow's studies are going. Forget it, forget it. In order to maintain fairness and prevent old fellow Yin from gossiping, I have to do things by the book. I can't be sentimental. Yinhuang College, principal's office. Li Zishuan held a pencil and thought to himself. If you look closely, there was a small yellow thing at the tip of his pencil. If it wasn't an eraser, what else could it be? The workshop was doing rubber vulcanization experiments. Because of the ratio problem, the first experiment failed. However, Li Zishuan found a few large pieces of hard rubber in the waste rubber that they were going to throw away. It felt similar to the erasers used in his previous life, so he picked it up and used it as an eraser. According to historical records, in 1768, the French Mecca used rubber to make medical supplies and hoses. In 1770, the British chemist J. Priestley discovered that rubber could be used to erase pencil writing. At that time, the material used for this purpose was called rubber, and this term was still used. This was the world's first eraser. Li Zishuan was creating history every day. Needless to say, this thing can erase pencil writing very cleanly. This made it even more convenient to use a pencil. Li Zishuan had already asked the workshop to organize the production of pencils. With his head down, Li Zishuan seriously constructed a few sets of chemistry questions in his mind. Then, he picked some of the more difficult questions and quickly formed a test paper. I hope old fellow Wang can pass with full marks. Otherwise, wouldn't this month's hard work be in vain? Li Zishuan laughed in his heart. In this month, the most hard-working person in the academy was Wang Ji. This old fellow was also working hard in order to be able to drink alcohol every day. Every day, he was basically at 2 places, the dormitory and the cafeteria. It was very difficult to see him anywhere else. Of course, in this month, Li Zishuan was constantly harassed by Wang Ji. As long as he came to the academy, Wang Ji would come to him with a bunch of questions that he had prepared beforehand. The old man was so old, but he was so eager to learn. If it was in his previous life, he would definitely be on the news. However, everyone knew that this old fellow was working so hard because he wanted to drink alcohol in the future. Chapter 848. Mr. Wang, the duration of this exam is 1.5 hours, and the total score is 150 points. After 1.5 hours, regardless of whether you have finished answering the questions or not, I will collect the papers on time. The questions of this exam are difficult. After all, I wrote the questions for the teachers of Yinhuang College, not for the students. Naturally, the difficulty is higher. So, Mr. Wang, as long as you can score 135 points and above, you will pass. In the afternoon, Li Zishuan took the newly printed papers and called Wang Ji, Li Gang, and Yin Silu to the conference room on the first floor of Guanghua Building. When Wang Ji heard this, his face suddenly showed dissatisfaction. What do you mean by only 135 points? This old man means what he says. You must get full marks to pass. Yin Silu said with some amusement. I say, Wang Wugong, don't try to be brave anymore. Don't embarrass yourself when the time comes. Wang Ji blew his beard and stared at him. Yin Kong, go away. Don't look down on me. This old man came prepared today. It's just a full mark. It's not a problem. Just remember the bet. Don't go back on your words when the time comes. Yin Silu said angrily, Bullshit. Isn't it just a few tales of wine? This old man will go back on his words. This old man only hopes that you won't disgrace us old guys. Li Gang held his forehead and said, Okay. The two of you don't need to argue anymore. You're both people who have half a foot in the ground. Why don't you act like an elder? Let's take the exam first. Don't waste time. As for the exam rules, since Wugong is so confident, let's follow the previous rules. In the face of these two old men who fought each other when they met, Li Gang was quite helpless in his heart. However, he also knew that these two people's characters had been like this for decades. They couldn't change even if they wanted to. He could only smooth things over in the middle. This is a great opportunity. If I win, I must win fair and square. I must make you, Yin Kong away, Accept your defeat wholeheartedly. Wang Ji raised his chin and said proudly. He didn't know why, but when he thought about how Li Zixuan had told him that the questions this time were a little difficult, he felt a little guilty. But even if he lost, he still had to say what he had to say. Moreover, he had come prepared today. He, Wang Ji, had been known as a prodigy since he was young. He had devoted himself to studying a book for a month and felt that he had completely understood the first volume of chemistry. Perhaps this was the confidence of a prodigy. The Yamacho has good intentions, but you want to keep up appearances and suffer. You don't know how to appreciate the kindness of others. Fine, this way this old man can save some money on wine, and the students of the academy won't be harmed by you, Wang Wugong, Yin Silu said snappily. However, his words sounded somewhat regretful for Wang Ji, because according to the previous bet, if Wang Ji could not obtain full marks, he had to take the initiative to leave the academy. All right, since these gentlemen have all said so, then let's follow the previous rules. The bell for the first class in the afternoon is about to ring, and then the exam will officially begin. Mr. Wang, you can prepare first. At this point, Li Zixuan couldn't say anything. He estimated the time and told Wang Ji. Wang Ji nodded. He didn't take his chemistry, textbook, and notes to cram. He just sat there leisurely and began to close his eyes to rest. Li Zixuan looked at Li Gang and said, Mr. Li, I plan to test all the teachers in the academy on the day after tomorrow. I want to test their mastery of their respective subjects. Other than the study of classics, I have roughly compiled the questions for the other 4 subjects. I'll have to trouble you and Mr. Yin to work on the classics together. It wasn't that he looked down on classics, but that he didn't know anything about it. Of course, he didn't have the qualifications to give questions to the teachers in the classics department. Li Gang nodded and said, That's not a problem. But Yamacho, can you lend me the papers for the other 4 subjects so that I can know the difficulty and scope of the questions this time? Yin Silu also echoed, Yes, since the classics department is part of Yanhuang College, it should have the same requirements as the other departments. Li Zixuan was already prepared. He took out a few rolls of rice paper from his sleeve and handed them to Li Gang. He said to the 2 of them, This exam for all the teachers in Yanhuang College must cover all the key knowledge points in the first volume of the textbooks of each department. And on this basis, try to connect the knowledge points in the books to reality as much as possible to increase the difficulty of the exam and test the ability of the teachers in the academy to deal with realistic problems. These are the questions for the other 4 subjects. You can take a look at them first. Li Gang and Yin Silu each took 2 test papers and looked at them carefully. Although they were both great Confucians, they weren't pedantic Confucians. They had dabbled in other fields of knowledge outside of Confucianism. This month, they also read the textbooks for the other 4 subjects. Although they weren't proficient in them, they could still understand them generally. What's more, Li Zixuan even had the answers at the back of the paper. Wang Ji, who was closing his eyes, heard the conversation between the 3 of them. He knew that Wang Ji and Yin Silu were holding the questions he was going to take in a while. His heart beat violently a few times. He wanted to move his head closer to take a look, but he held back. Li Zixuan, who was very observant, naturally noticed the slight change in Wang Ji's facial expression. He couldn't help but feel a little funny. This was really a stubborn and cute little old man. You 2 gentlemen can start to prepare for the exam when Mr. Wang is taking the exam. I have prepared a pen and paper for you. Li Zixuan said as he took out 2 sharpened pencils and handed them to Li Gang and Yin Silu. Li Gang took it and couldn't help but frown. He had seen Li Zixuan use this kind of pen before, but he didn't know how to use it. Li Zixuan saw this and demonstrated the use of the pencil and eraser. He then smiled and said, In comparison, the pencil is lighter than the brush, and it can be modified at any time. Therefore, the Academy will try to promote the use of this kind of pen for the students in the future. Li Gang and Yin Silu personally tried it. Although they weren't used to using a pencil for the first time, the pencil was indeed lighter and easier to modify, as Li Zixuan said. Well, if you can adapt to writing with a pencil, then it is indeed better than the brush. Li Gang praised. Clang, clang, clang. At this moment, the bell of the academy rang. Wang Ji immediately opened his eyes. Li Zixuan picked up the chemistry paper on the table and said, "Okay, the exam begins." After that, he handed the paper to Wang Ji, who was waiting for the exam. Chapter 849. The first question: put a certain amount of anhydrous alcohol and oxygen in a completely closed container and ignite them. The reaction produces carbon dioxide, water vapor, and an unknown substance X. The mass before and after the reaction is measured. Anhydrous alcohol is 4.6 g and 0 g. Oxygen is 8 g and 0 g. Carbon dioxide is 0 g and 4. For G, water is 0 g and 5. For G, and substance X is 0 g and mg. The value of m is underscore 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 underscore, and the molecular formula of substance X is underscore 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 underscore. Note: in order to facilitate future teaching, Li Zixuan unified the commonly used units at the beginning of the 4 textbooks. However, this is only the unification in writing. The unification in reality will depend on the joint efforts of Yanhuang College's teachers and students in the future. Although Wang Ji was prepared for the difficulty of the exam, the first question was such a practical application and calculation question. This surprised Wang Ji a little. Shouldn't they test the basic concepts first? However, this question mainly tested the law of conservation of mass in the chemical reaction process. He calculated a little and got the correct answer. At this time, he couldn't help but feel lucky. Fortunately, he also studied the new mathematics. Otherwise, how could he calculate so fast? The second question, on the 2 plates of the balance, put 2 glass cups A and B. The glass cups are filled with diluted sulfuric acid of different mass, but both contain 9.8 g of sulfuric acid. It is known that glass A is heavier than glass B. Now, put the same mass of iron and zinc in a glass A and B, respectively. After the reaction, the balance will be balanced. Before the reaction, the biggest mass difference between glass A and glass B before the reaction is underscore 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 underscore. Note: balance has been around since ancient times. It was produced early. In the late spring and autumn period, the manufacturing technology of balance and weights was quite sophisticated. Bamboo sheets were used as beams, silk threads were used as buttons, and a copper plate was suspended at both ends. Later, because it was more troublesome to weigh heavy objects, it was changed to quan. Balance is only used when weighing small objects. Although Wang Ji had never seen sulfuric acid and zinc before, he still knew their chemical reactions by heart. However, why does this question seem to be more abnormal than the previous one? It should also use the new mathematics knowledge, right? Wang Ji's heart began to race. Fortunately, he had done some research on modern mathematics. Otherwise, no matter how familiar he was with the chemistry textbook, he would have to kneel before this test paper. However, although Wang Ji had done some research on the new mathematics, he was far from being proficient in it. After solving a problem, he was already sweating profusely. It was as if he had run 10 miles. After finishing the second question, Wang Ji couldn't help but raise his head and look at Li Zixuan with a bit of bitterness in his eyes. He thought to himself, "Do I have a grudge against you? It was just a question. Was there a need to make it so difficult?" He wasn't being pretentious, but strictly speaking, Li Zixuan's question was somewhat out of line. Moreover, all the questions were biased towards practical applications. It was very difficult to get good grades just by reading books. Sigh. No matter how difficult it is, I have to give it my all. I can't lose this bet. Although he had only stayed in Yanhuang College for a month, Wang Ji felt that he had completely fallen in love with it. Not only did he like the environment, facilities, and delicious food, but he also liked the atmosphere of Yanhuang College. That positive, united, and progressive atmosphere. He didn't want to leave. The desire to live. This was also another kind of desire to live. The strong desire to live made Wang Ji's mind unprecedentedly clear. His thoughts also became active. Although most of the questions on the test paper were questions he had never seen before, he could always find a way to solve them. Just like that, he broke through all the obstacles. When there was still half an hour before the end of the exam, Wang Ji finally came to the last question. This was a question and answer question. A mixture of sodium carbonate, sodium bicarbonate, calcium oxide, and sodium hydroxide is 37.2 grams. After dissolving in enough water and fully reacting, the calcium ions, carbonate ions, and bicarbonate ions in the solution are all converted into precipitate. After evaporating the water in the reaction vessel, the final result is 39.0 grams of a white solid. What is the mass of sodium carbonate in the original mixture? The after effect of surpassing all the obstacles and performing exceedingly well was a headache. At this moment, when he saw the last big question, Wang Ji felt that his head was about to explode. This was because many of the substances in this question could react with each other. In fact, for a person like Li Zixuan who had received modern higher education, this problem was not difficult at all because it involved nothing more than a multi-step reaction and multi-substance cross-reaction. Calcium oxide reacts with water to form calcium hydroxide. Calcium hydroxide can react with sodium carbonate and sodium bicarbonate. As long as multiple chemical reaction formulas were combined into one and balanced to obtain a total chemical reaction formula, the whole problem would be solved without any difficulty. But for Wang Ji, who was a beginner in chemistry, he obviously didn't know this method. What should he do? He had to solve this question. After thinking for a long time, Wang Ji still couldn't think of a clever and simple way to solve this question. He gritted his teeth, made up his mind, and decided to use the stupidest way to solve this question, which was to use the method of equations. Isn't it just that there are a lot of unknowns? No problem, solve it. I don't believe that I can't solve it by today. Wang Ji secretly made up his mind. At the same time, he couldn't help but sigh. Was this a chemistry exam or a mathematics exam? In order to calculate, he used 3 pieces of draft paper. Fortunately, he used the pencil that Li Zixuan gave him. If he used a brush, Wang Ji felt that he didn't need to take the exam anymore. Just grinding the ink would be exhausting. Clang, clang, clang. Okay, time's up. Mr. Wang, please stop writing. At 4 in the afternoon, the gongs and drums of the academy sounded. Li Zixuan immediately stood up and said. At this time, Wang Ji just finished writing the last word. He took a deep breath. He originally thought that 3 hours was more than enough, but now he didn't even have time to check and had a hand in the paper. Huh? Wang Wugong, how did you do? As soon as Wang Ji handed in the paper, Yin Silu immediately asked. It was hard to tell whether that tone was filled with schadenfreude or concern. I can't. I'll talk about other things in the future. This old man has a terrible headache now. I have to go back and have a good rest. Yamacho, Wenji, Konggue, this old man will take his leave first. Wang Ji frowned and scratched his head. He stood up and said with a painful expression, he had used too much of his brain for this exam. Mr. Wang, are you feeling unwell? Do you need me to call a doctor for you? Li Zixuan asked with a worried expression. He didn't want to ruin a genius like Wang Ji because of an exam. No need. This old man just feels a little tired. I should be fine after a sleep. Wang Ji waved his hand. Chapter 850. Wang Ji overused his brain and had to go back to rest. Li Zixuan was worried that something would happen to him, so he quickly arranged for a guard to go to Wang Ji's dormitory to take care of him. He also ordered the guard to report if there was anything unusual. Seeing that it was still early, Li Zixuan, Li Gang, and Yin Silla worked together to review the test paper left by Wang Ji. The fill-in-the-blank questions and multiple-choice questions had a unique answer. There was nothing to dispute, so it was very fast. To Li Zixuan's surprise, Wang Ji actually did everything correctly. One must know that in this test, Li Zixuan specifically set a few trap questions. Even in modern times, 70 to 80% of students would fall into those traps, but Wang Ji actually ran around the trap and escaped. This was too inconceivable. There was the question and answer at the back. This part was different because the answers to the question and answer questions were generally more flexible, so this part was personally reviewed by Li Zixuan. Looking at the scribbled handwriting on the test paper, one could probably imagine that Wang Ji's heart was a little nervous at that time. These were not very important. The important thing was that basically, Wang Ji used his own method to solve every big question. Although the answers given by Li Zixuan were different, the process and the final result were all correct. This meant that Wang Ji had completely understood the first volume of chemistry and had his own unique understanding of it. When Li Zixuan saw the dense process of solving the last question, his eyes almost popped out of their sockets. What is this? I gave the chemistry question. How did this old guy solve it as a math question? There were so many unknowns. Just looking at it gave me a headache. Also, wasn't this old guy busy reading chemistry recently? How did he even solve the linear equation of multiple variables? He really knows how to play. He didn't know that during the exam, Wang Ji was still complaining about why he changed the chemistry question to the mathematics question. The most important thing was that Wang Ji solved it correctly. What else could he say? It could only be said that a prodigy was indeed a prodigy. He was really outstanding. What is this old guy's brain made of? How is it that you can still learn things so quickly at such an old age? After marking the last question, Li Zixuan couldn't help but mutter in his heart. Yamacho, what do you think? How did Wang Wugong do with the last 4 questions? Are there any mistakes? Seeing Li Zixuan put down the pen, Yin Silu hurriedly asked. Li Zixuan came back to his senses. Instead of answering, he asked, Mr. Yin, are you hoping that Mr. Wang will make a mistake? Or is there no mistake? Yin Silu wanted to say something, but he immediately shut his mouth. When Li Zixuan saw this, he couldn't help but laugh in his heart. These 2 little old men clearly belonged to the love-hate type. Although they usually bicker with each other, if there really came a day when one of them had to leave, the other would definitely not have the heart or be reluctant to part with him. All right, Yamacho, don't keep me in suspense. Tell me how you did on the exam. Li Gang chimed in from the side. Li Zixuan nodded, put away the smile on his face, and said solemnly, Both of you have just seen that Mr. Wang did not make any mistakes in the first 4 questions. Just now, I carefully reviewed the last 4 questions and found that although Mr. Wang's solution was different from the answers I gave, his way of solving the questions was completely correct, and there were no problems with the final answers. Therefore, I think that Mr. Wang should get full marks in this exam. Both of you can take a closer look. If you have any objections, you can raise them now. After saying that, he handed the second half of Wang Ji's exam paper to Li Gang. Li Gang quickly waved his hand and said, No need. This old man is not proficient in chemistry. Besides, with Yamacho's character and character, this old man believes that you would not do such a dishonorable thing. Since you said that Wang Wugong did not make any mistakes, then he should get full marks. This old man has no objections. Li Zixuan smiled and looked at Yin Silu. The latter pursed his lips, hesitated for a moment, and said, This old man also has no objections. Let's give Wang Wugong full marks. Listening to his tone towards the end, it suddenly became a little lighter. Since both of you have no objections, then Mr. Wang has passed this exam. From now on, Mr. Wang will be promoted from the acting head of the chemistry group to the head of the chemistry group. His monthly salary will be a bucket of immortal drunken wine and 5 strings of cash. Li Zixuan turned around and wrote 150 on the exam paper, then laughed loudly. Sigh. Wang Wugong is lucky, but this old man will have to spend a lot of money to buy wine. Yin Silu sighed and walked out with his hands behind his back. But why did his tone sound like he was relieved of a burden? Mr. Li, I'll have to trouble you and Mr. Yin with the questions for this study of classic section. It's best if you can finish it before sunset tomorrow, because all the teachers will be taking the exam the day after tomorrow. After Yin Silu left, Li Zixuan said to Li Gang, And don't worry, I will not delay your work. Li Gang stroked his beard and smiled faintly. Young master, Xiao Bing already knows how to read the map. He has gathered a group of close friends and is planning to go to Hudong Road together. The next day, in the morning, Faubert brought the young man who came to Li Zixuan's house to Li Zixuan's courtyard and said excitedly, "En, you are a fast learner. Xiao Bing, are these the helpers you found?" Li Zixuan sighed with emotion, then looked at the few youths behind Fu Bin and asked. Fu Bin quickly replied, "Yes, young master. This is Biaozi. He's good at martial arts. These two are his subordinates. Biaozi has some connections in Hudong Road. With his help, I should be able to avoid a lot of trouble. Nice to meet you, Marquis. After Fu Bin finished his introduction, the three men behind him quickly stepped forward and bowed to Li Zishuan respectfully. Biaozi? Li Zishuan remembered. In this life, his memory was very good. He remembered a few months ago when he asked Sanbao to find some hooligans to deal with Cui Shanyu and the other 8 Imperial College professors. The leader of the hooligans that Sanbao found was called Brother Biaozi. Although he was not sure if it was the same person, this person in front of him looked ferocious. Even if he was not the Brother Biaozi that Sanbao hired, there was an 80% chance that he had a similar identity. And since Xiao Bing had chosen all of you to go with him, it means that Xiao Bing trusts all of you. All of you must do your best to help him. Of course, all of you will be rewarded. Li Zishuan calmly said to Biaozi and the rest. We understand. Marquis, don't worry. Everyone in Chang and knows that I, Biaozi, am the most loyal to my friends. The most trustworthy? We will do our best to help Ah Bin. Chapter 851. Xiao Bing, when you get there, don't take the initiative to make trouble. You're going there to do things, not to make trouble. If I find out that you're using my name to make trouble, I will not let you off easily. In the study, Li Zishuan said to Fu Bin and Biaozi sternly, since ancient times, people are not afraid of godlike opponents, but they are afraid of pig-like teammates. It is not uncommon for a superior to be tricked by arrogant and despotic subordinates. Moreover, Li Zishuan still knew nothing about Biaozi and his subordinates. He still had to teach them a lesson. Fu Bin and Biaozi were shocked. Fu Bin solemnly cupped his hands and said, Young master, don't worry. I will not take the initiative to make trouble and trouble you. Biaozi then cupped his hands and said, Marquis, don't worry. When we go to Hudong, my brothers and I will listen to Bin's orders and will not make trouble. Li Zishuan nodded. Well, that's good. But not making trouble does not mean that you are afraid of trouble. If someone takes the initiative to make trouble, you don't have to swallow your anger. Just act according to the situation. Thank you, young master. Thank you, Marquis. The two of them cupped their hands and thanked him. Li Zishuan then asked someone to give Fu Bin 500 strings of cash for travel and expenses when they arrived at the place. The few of them then bowed and bid farewell. According to the original plan, they would depart for Hudong Road tomorrow. Oh, how long have I been sleeping? Yanwang College, teacher's dormitory. Accompanied by a painful groan, Wang Ji sat up from the bed and rubbed his forehead. He looked at the sky outside the window and muttered to himself in a daze. Mr. Wang, you are awake. Are you hungry now? I will go to the cafeteria to bring you something to eat. Hearing the movement in the room, a young guard outside the room hurriedly pushed open the door and came in, saying in a hurry. Wang Ji took a closer look and roughly recognized that the person in front of him was from Yanhuang College. So he asked, How long have I been sleeping? What time is it now? The guard replied, Mr. Wang, you've been asleep for more than a day. It's now 9:15 in the morning. If you didn't wake up, Yamacho would have gone to call the imperial physician. Wang Ji was stunned. Then he smiled bitterly and said, I'm old. His body couldn't take it anymore. An exam actually made this old man sleep for an entire day. My body is getting more and more useless. The guard hurriedly said, Mr. Wang is now the pillar of the academy. Your examination yesterday shocked the entire academy. How can you say that you're useless? Exam? Oh, that's right. How did I do yesterday? Are the results out yet? Only then did Wang Ji remember the soul-stirring exam yesterday. He patted his head, looked up, and asked nervously. Although he should be able to guess that the results of yesterday's exam weren't bad for what the guard had just said, it was only reassuring to hear such things with his own ears. The guard smiled and said, Mr. Wang, you scored full marks in yesterday's exam. Now, all the teachers in the academy are envious of you. Huh? Is that so? After Wang Ji heard that, he actually laughed foolishly. The heavens had taken pity on him. He had studied tirelessly for the past month, and he had finally gained something. He had won this bet. and he had won beautifully. He had won impeccably by everyone. Growl, growl. At this moment, Wang Ji's stomach suddenly let out an untimely growl. The guard stood up straight and said, "Mr. Wang, you haven't eaten anything for a day. I'll go to the cafeteria to get you some food." Wang Ji was in a great mood at this moment when he suddenly heard the good news. The old man rubbed his stomach, got out of bed, and laughed heartily. "Ha! No need, no need. Someone will naturally bring good wine and dishes to entertain this old man at noon. This old man has to save his stomach to eat his good wine and delicacies. I'll have to trouble you to take care of me during this period. This old man is fine now. You can go and do your work." If Yin Silu heard these shameless words, he would definitely vomit blood. No one would have thought that this old man would do such a shameless thing just to eat a little more of Yin Silu's wine and dishes. The guard obviously did not expect this situation. He could not help but wipe the cold sweat on his forehead and quickly left. "Mr. Wang, oh no, it should be Group Leader Wang. Congratulations. I heard that the questions set by Yamacho this time were extremely difficult. I didn't expect you to score full marks and win first place. That's really admirable." Although it could not be ruled out that other teachers would also score full marks, Wang Ji's score was still the first. There was nothing wrong with that. It was not inappropriate to say that he scored full marks in advance. Returning to Guanghua Building from the dormitory, Wang Ji could not avoid meeting some teachers from the academy. Naturally, he heard some compliments and congratulatory words. "Ah, I was just lucky. Group Leader Wang, this is your ability. How can you say that it's luck? You're too modest." "Oh, really? Maybe." Wang Ji subconsciously wanted to say something more modest, but when he thought about how he was able to answer all the super abnormal questions on the test paper yesterday, all of which proved that his strength was indeed outstanding, he pinched his beard and said with a smug face, The person opposite him suddenly looked confused. Damn it. Old Wang did not play by the rules at all. How could he answer this question? "Group Leader Wang. Group Leader Wang, are you feeling better? Group Leader Wang, you were really amazing yesterday." In the office of the chemistry department of Yanwang College, a group of teachers who were urgently reviewing and preparing for tomorrow's exam saw Wang Ji come in. They quickly got up and greeted him enthusiastically. In the past, Wang Ji was only the acting group leader of the chemistry department of the academy. In yesterday's exam, Wang Ji passed with full marks. Not only did he keep his identity as a teacher of Yanwang College, but he also removed the word acting group leader from his position. This meant that all the teachers in this office would have to listen to Wang Ji's orders in the future. Of course, they had to be polite when their leader came. Some of them couldn't help but have their own plans. They really wanted to ask Wang Ji what the exam questions were yesterday so that they could prepare in advance. However, Wang Ji rarely spoke to them in the past, and their friendship wasn't at that level. It was really difficult for them to ask such a question. We are all preparing for tomorrow's exam. Prepare well. The only information that the old madam can leak to you is that tomorrow's exam questions are not simple. You have to be based on the textbook, but not limited to the textbook. I hope that you can all get good results tomorrow. Don't embarrass our chemistry department. Chapter 852. Although Wang Ji really wanted the teachers of the chemistry department to shine in the academy's examination, he couldn't do something like leaking the examination questions. When the teachers in the office heard what Wang Ji said, they couldn't help but frown. Since ancient times, there has always been competition in places with people. Yanwang College was the same. In tomorrow's exam, if the teachers from the chemistry department scored lower than the other departments, wouldn't that mean that their chemistry department was the weakest? Or rather, their chemistry department's teachers were the weakest? How could that be? Although these people didn't have to be like Wang Ji, who didn't get full marks, they still felt a bit of pressure in their hearts when they thought of the teachers from the other departments. Don't worry, Leader Wang. We will do our best. The teachers cupped their hands and quickly returned to their seats to continue reading. Wang Ji smiled, then turned around and walked out of the door, heading towards Yin Silu's office. "Oh, Wang Wugong, you're finally awake." Yin Silu, who was compiling the study of classics test paper, put down his pen when he saw Wang Ji enter. He looked at Wang Ji at the door and said, "Hey, what's wrong? Looks like you really want to treat this old man to a drink." Wang Ji walked in and sat across from Yin Silu without any hesitation. He said with a smile on his face. Yin Silu's face darkened, and he said angrily, "Now the whole academy is talking about how you, Wang Wugong, passed the examination with full marks. Can't you be more reserved and set a good example for the other teachers in the academy?" Wang Ji did not care at all and chuckled as he said, "Eating and drinking is a matter of course. How did this old man become a bad example? Could it be that you, Yin Silu, want to go back on your words?" "Bullshit. Do you think this old man will go back on his words?" "Hey, is that so? That's great. This old man is hungry now. Kongwei, let's go to your house for a drink." "Wait, it's not even noon yet. Why are you in such a hurry? This old man won't go back on his words. Hey, it's almost time. Let's go. I've been sleeping for the whole day. I'm starving. Brother Kongwei, let's go." "But what's there to but? Even if Yamacho saw it, they would understand. Let's go." Phew. Using softness to conquer strength, borrowing strength to fight strength. Every move and stance of the Taiji fist, the main technique of exerting force, is actually all in these two sentences. On the sports field, the students are still practicing Taiji fist. Compared to 2 days ago, most of the students were getting better at it. Even though it was break time, Chung Chumo was still standing at the back of the team, gesturing to himself. Speaking of which, if it was the old Chung Chumo, there was a 200% chance that he would not be so diligent. Study hard, train hard. These words had nothing to do with him. However, ever since Li Zixuan personally tutored him that day, this fellow seemed to have fallen into a trance. Li Tai, Li Chengxian, Qin Huayu, and the others could see Chung Chumo gesturing with his arms all the time, every day. It looked somewhat similar to Taiji fist. When they saw Chung Chumo like this, they often could not help but tease him. However, the strange thing was that Chung Chumo actually allowed them to tease him. He did not even talk back. It looked like he had really changed. At this moment, seeing that Chung Chumo had fallen into a trance again and was still mumbling something, Li Tai, who was not far away, could not help but twitch his mouth. He could not understand why this guy was suddenly obsessed with Taiji fist. Although Li Zixuan's Taiji fist was indeed very good that day, after so many days, the little fatty felt that he had been deceived. This was because the Taiji fist they were practicing looked completely different from the fist technique that Li Zixuan had practiced that day. They were all Taiji fist. Li Zixuan had practiced it smoothly and elegantly that day. But what about these students? Each and every one of them was weak and listless. Li Tai even wanted to give up on learning Taiji fist now. There were many students who had the same thoughts as him. However, no matter how others looked at Taiji fist, there were 2 students who had always placed Taiji fist in the most important position and practiced it crazily. These 2 people were Chung Chumo and Tai Ta. It moved. It actually moved. The movements of Taiji fist had long been engraved in Chung Chumo's heart. At this moment, he suddenly felt the fluctuation of the genuine qi in his body. The acupoints in his body, which had been calm for many years, suddenly produced a change. Chung Chumo finally could not help but cry out loudly. Then, ignoring the surprised looks of the surrounding students, he directly sat cross-legged on the grass and began to meditate. What is Brother Chonyo doing? Why does it seem like he is about to break through? Yuchi Baolin, who was also a martial artist, scratched his head and said uncertainly. Hearing this, Li Tai was shocked. He looked at Chung Chumo, who was sitting cross-legged and could not help but click his tongue in wonder. His attitude toward Taiji fist had changed greatly, because he knew in his heart that Chung Chumo had broken through because of Taiji fist. "Oh, Mengzi, help me take care of him." At this moment, Iron Egg, who was standing slightly in front, suddenly sat cross-legged. His actions were exactly the same as Chung Chumo's. Iron Egg, what's wrong with you? Are you okay?" Wang Meng was a little confused and asked. "Don't make a sound. Iron Egg and Chonyo are breaking through. Qin Xiong, who was resting outside the field, noticed the commotion and whispered to Wang Meng. Wang Meng was shocked and hurriedly covered his mouth. Because of Bruiser and Cheng Chumo's sudden breakthroughs, the class break, which was supposed to be only 15 minutes long, lasted for half an hour before it ended. Haha, I finally broke through. Haha, now I don't have to worry about getting beaten up. After about half an hour, Cheng Chumo opened his eyes and laughed heartily. He had an epiphany while practicing Taiji Fist, and broke through to the Qi transformation realm in one fell swoop, finally escaping Cheng Yaojin's pursuit. At the same time, Iron Egg, who was not far away, also opened his eyes. The sudden epiphany allowed him to directly break through from the Qi Gatherer realm to the Body Refinement realm. One had to know that he had only been practicing martial arts for half a year. It was not easy for him to make such progress. Not bad, not bad. Little Xian's Taiji Fist is indeed unique. Qin Xiong, who had been greatly benefited by Taiji Fist, sighed with emotion after seeing this. Tai Chi, this is truly a miraculous fist technique. Not far away, the elusive bearded guest also noticed the commotion. He narrowed his eyes and muttered in a low voice. Chapter 853. Master, there's good news. In the Cheng residence, as soon as Cheng Yaojin returned home, housekeeper Liang welcomed him with a face full of joy. What good news could there be? Look at how happy you are, old Liang. Cheng Yaojin looked at housekeeper Liang suspiciously and asked casually. Housekeeper Liang smiled and said, Master, there's news from the academy. Eldest young master broke through to the Qi transformation realm this morning. As the housekeeper of Cheng Yaojin, old Liang was clearly very familiar with the Jianghu martial artist realms. Cheng Yaojin was in the middle of taking off the crown on his head. This thing was quite hot to wear, but he had to wear it during morning court. At this moment, when he suddenly heard this, his hands that were taking off the crown froze. His eyes were as big as copper bells. That brat broke through to the next realm? Old Liang, your news is correct, right? Cheng Yaojin asked in disbelief. As his father, how could he not know Cheng Chumo's character? He was usually the idle type. If you asked him to practice martial arts seriously, it was as if you wanted to kill him. If you were not careful, this brat would run away again. That was why Cheng Chumo had been stuck in the body refining realm for 3 to 4 years without any progress. This was actually nothing much. The second generation of the rich in Cheng, and we're all like this. Most of them are not even as good as Cheng Chumo. However, the problem occurred this spring. A shockingly talented Xiao Ning suddenly came to Cheng, and not only was he at the peak of the Qi transformation realm at such a young age, he even broke through to the Grandmaster realm within 3 months. He was catching up to the older generation of warlords. What was even more unacceptable was that this young man actually broke through to the next realm after 3 months. As the saying goes, there is no harm without comparison. With such an outstanding role model, Cheng Chumo was immediately dissatisfied with his son and even gave him an ultimatum. This was also one of the reasons why Cheng Chumo had been working so hard to break through recently. Master, it can't be wrong. Ever since eldest young master went to Yanwan College, I've been paying attention to the news there. This news was just sent back by the people below. It can't be wrong. Old Liang's wrinkled face was smiling. Now that Cheng Chumo had broken through and escaped Cheng Chumo's pursuit, he was happy from the bottom of his heart. After all, he had watched Cheng Chumo grow up. Ha 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 ha! Cheng Yaojin wiped his mouth and suddenly laughed like a lunatic. His voice was loud, and the birds in the Cheng residence's courtyard were frightened by his laughter and scattered in all directions. You just came back, what's wrong with you? If the neighbors heard this, they would think that the great Duke of Lu had gone mad. Madame Cheng, who was resting in the backyard, came out at this moment and said angrily to Yaojin Cheng, Cough, cough. The smug Cheng Yaojin immediately shut his mouth. He rubbed his nose and looked embarrassed. Madam, good news. Our Cho ox is broken through today. Ha! This brat still needs someone to keep an eye on him. How long has it been since he entered Yanhuang College? It hasn't even been a month, right? Then he became a chief transformation expert. Huh. Madame Chung rolled her eyes and said, breakthrough, breakthrough? All you think about is letting Cho ox break through. Don't you see how thin your son is? Isn't it good to study in the academy? Why must he participate in some military training? Yao Jin Chung waved his hand and said, hey, madam, you can't say that. If I, Chung Yaojin's son, were to be spoiled like a woman, then how would I, old Chung, go out and meet people? Little Xian did a good job with this military training. Next year, send Chu Liang too. It's good that the two brothers can take care of each other. You dare? Madame Chung immediately glared and said angrily, it's fine if you torture Chu and Mo all day, but now you want to torture Chu Liang too? I don't agree. Yao Jin Chung said angrily. What does a girl like you know? What future can Chu Liang have by staying at home all day? A loving mother will spoil her son. Hey, hey, hey. A gentleman uses his mouth, not his fists. Let me go. Let me in quickly. This is not the forbidden area of the Imperial City. Who are you to stop me? I'm your Yamacho-S grandaunt. Open the door quickly. In the afternoon, a beautiful woman in a red dress came to the entrance of Yanhuang College. She wanted to enter the college, but the guards at the entrance did not allow her to. Then, the woman immediately scolded. Hearing her tone and looking at her appearance, who else could it be but Hong Fianu? How dare you? How dare you insult the Yamacho? Seeing that you're a woman, I'll let you go this time. I advise you to leave quickly, or I'll take you to Chong and to see the officials. Coincidentally, the guard guarding the gate today was not there when Li Zixuan fought with the bearded man. Naturally, he did not see Li Jing, Hong Fianu, and the others who came last. So, when he saw that the woman in red dared to call herself Li Zixuan's grandaunt, how could he sit by and do nothing? If he did not see that Hong Fianu was a woman, he would have drawn his sword. I'll stand here and not move. Why don't you try to catch me? Hong Fianu raised her chin and snorted. You? Fine. Then I'll do as you wish and send you to the officials. The guard was furious and was about to attack when suddenly a shout came from inside. Mo Phone, stop. Then he saw Mo Zhong rushing over. The guard turned his head and said, Senior brother, this woman spoke rudely to the Yamacho. I was about to, okay, I got it. Mo Zhong waved his hand and looked at Hong Fianu. He cupped his hands and said, My junior brother has never seen you before. I hope you won't take offense if he offends you. Then he turned around and said to the guard, Mo Fong, this is a senior of the Yamacho. If you come to the college in the future, you're not allowed to be rude. Now apologize to Senior Hong Fianu. During the last battle, Mo Zhong was at the scene. Of course, he recognized Hong Fianu. Senior brother, she's really... Mo Fong was a little dumbfounded, but he felt that he did not do anything wrong. It was hard for him to apologize. Okay, it's not brother Mo Feng's fault. Mo Zhong, you two go do what you need to do. She's here to look for me. How could the powerful bearded guest, who was also one of the guards of Yanhuang College, not detect such a commotion in front of the gate? At this moment, he strode to the front of the academy and spoke in a deep voice. Okay, then I'll have to trouble third brother here. Mo Zhong knew about the relationship between the bearded guest and Hong Fianu. When he saw this, he cupped his hands at the bearded guest and retreated far away with Mo Fong. Third brother? Big brother. How can they call you third brother? Seeing the bearded guest come out, Hong Fianu, who was overjoyed, could not help but exclaim. Chapter 854. Ahem. Chuchen, why are you here? In front of Yanhuang College's main gate. Hearing Hong Fianu ask about the origin of his third brother, the bearded man was a little embarrassed. He coughed dryly and changed the topic. Big brother, you still have the nerve to ask me why I'm here? Last night, Brother Jing and I waited for you for a long time, but you didn't come back. This morning, Brother Jing didn't even go to morning court and brought people to look for you. I thought that you might come to Yanhuang College again, so I came to look for you. Big brother, what are you doing here? Are you unhappy at home? Is that why you came here? Hong Fianu was angry when she heard the bearded man's question. In the face of this bombardment, the bearded man regretted purposely changing the topic. Hong Fianu's questions were obviously more difficult to answer than before. No, I'm not unhappy. The medicine master, you, and I have reunited after a long time. We're happy. Chuchen, I'll be staying at Yanhuang College from now on. I have some things to do here. If you and the medicine master want to catch up with Big Brother, you can come to the college directly to look for him. If there's nothing important on a normal day, you can go about your own business. The bearded man didn't want Hong Fianu to know that he was a guard at the college, so he could only speak vaguely. But how could Hong Fianu be so easily fooled? What? Big Brother, you want to stay at the college? Why? Is it because Li Zixuan is not willing to give you the C map and is using it to blackmail you? The quick-witted Hong Fianu hit the nail on the head. Her guess was very close to the correct answer. Obviously, when the bearded man was at their house, he had already told them about the C map. The bearded man was obviously stunned. After thinking about it, he denied it. Of course not. Although Big Brother needs the C map, he will definitely not be blackmailed by others. Think about it, Chuchen. Who in the world can blackmail your big brother? Hong Fianu felt that it was reasonable. She was very confident in the bearded man's personal strength. Generally speaking, as long as he wasn't surrounded by a regular army, there weren't many people in the world who could threaten him. Then, Big Brother, why are you staying here? Hong Fianu stroked the beautiful hair on her forehead and asked. After delaying for so long, the bearded man had already thought of an excuse. He pretended to be mysterious and said in a low voice, Chuchun, this Yanhuang College has something that can improve Big Brother's martial arts, so Big Brother must stay here. Don't ask about the specifics. Be careful of others hearing it, understand? Hong Fianu, who had been obsessed with the legend of a mortal's journey to immortality this year, heard the bearded man's words and subconsciously thought that the Yanhuang Academy had elixirs similar to the True Soul Elixir and the Heavenly Fate Elixir in the mortal that could improve one's skills. She immediately narrowed her eyes and looked at the bearded man with an everyone knows look. Big Brother, you don't have to say anymore. I already know. I just didn't expect that such a desolate place like Cloud Mountain would produce such immortal elixirs. Li Zixuan's methods are indeed extraordinary. The curly-bearded guest was dumbfounded when he heard this. What spiritual pills? Where did this come from? However, since Hong Fianu could fill in the gaps in his words, he was naturally happy to see it. Yes. Chuchun, since you understand this, you should go back first. By the way, tell Medicine Master not to look for Big Brother anymore. He should focus on his future. The current emperor is a rare, wise emperor. Let him assist him well. The bearded man put on the attitude of an elder brother and said earnestly, Okay, then I'll go. Big Brother, take care. Brother Jing and I will come to see you often. Hong Fianu hesitated for a moment and was about to leave. Yes, you and Medicine Master also take care. October 19th, Yanhuang College Calendar, Friday, cloudy weather. Today was a good day, at least for the students of Yanhuang College, because almost all the teachers in the college had to take the exam or be invigilators. They really didn't have any teachers to control them. Although there were still instructors by their side, compared to before, there were no Li Zixuan, Li Gang, Yin Silu, and the others patrolling the field. The pressure on their bodies was suddenly reduced by a lot. Hey, after today, I'll be officially free from the sea of suffering. This military training has really tortured me, Sun Zifen said as he lay on the grass and let out a long breath. In your dreams, I heard from Yamacho that on the last day of the military training, all the classes will be put together to test their results. But today, the teachers of the college have to take the exam. I guess this test results will have to be postponed to next Monday. Li Tai mercilessly poured a bucket of cold water on Sun Zifen's head. The latter's heart instantly turned cold. Damn, do you have to be so ruthless? Putting aside whether this was ruthless or not, the teachers of Yanhuang College were all complaining that Li Zixuan's questions were so ruthless. This exam involved the 5 major departments of Yanwang College, with a total of more than 70 teachers. Even the leaders of the departments, such as Ma Zhou, Su Hongji, Mo Huai, and Xiao Diyan, personally participated in the exam. Wang Ji, the leader of the chemistry department, had finished the exam the day before yesterday. Before the exam, almost every department's leader had mobilized their teachers. Although Li Zixuan didn't say what kind of punishment would be given to the students who did the worst in the exam, no one was willing to be the worst. Moreover, during the recent military training of Yanwang College, these teachers had more or less seen the students sweating profusely on the field. Many of them were affected by it. Just think about it. The students were already working so hard. So how could they, as teachers, be willing to degrade and be the last in the class? They had to fight for the first place. However, when the exam papers were handed out, they realized how perverted the questions were this time. They finally understood why Wang Ji slept for an entire day after taking the exam the day before yesterday. It was because these questions were too difficult: physics, chemistry, and geography. These 3 subjects' exam papers were more or less mixed with some new mathematics knowledge. If you only looked at the textbooks of this subject and didn't look at the mathematics, you would definitely not be able to get a high score. Then, did that mean that the teachers of the science department had the most advantage? Of course not. The questions of the mathematics department were some more tricky mathematics questions. They were more realistic, but naturally more troublesome to solve. Then, did the classics have an advantage? Obviously not. This time, the classics questions were different from the usual questions. They combined the classics with life. Many of the questions, if you didn't look at them carefully a few times, you wouldn't be able to grasp the meaning they were trying to express. Therefore, the teachers of the 5 departments fell into the big hole dug by Li Zixuan this time. Whoever could climb out of the hole would be the winner. Chapter 855. Many people might subconsciously think that it was impossible to finish a course in a month. This was because when they were in school, they spent an entire semester to finish every course. How could they possibly finish a course in a month? However, don't forget that when they were in school, they had to study more than 1 course in a semester. Usually, there were at least 3 or 4 courses, and at most 7 or 8 courses. What about the teachers in Yanwang College? They only needed to study 1 course. Oh, that wasn't entirely correct. This was because the teachers in the other departments, in addition to studying the teaching materials of the subject, also had to roughly learn about the new mathematics. This was originally stipulated by Li Zixuan. However, even so, their learning tasks were far less than the modern students. Therefore, from this perspective, it wasn't impossible to finish a course in a month. Moreover, the teachers in the academy were all working hard this month. Under such a dense learning atmosphere, basically all of the teachers were able to grasp at least 70 to 80% of the knowledge of the subject. With more than 70 teachers, 1 classroom definitely couldn't fit all of them. This time, the examination was divided into 2 examination halls. Li Zixuan was personally invigilating the examination hall in the first examination hall. As for the second examination hall, it was jointly invigilated by Li Gang, Yan Silu, and Wang Ji. The current Li Zixuan's mental strength was no longer the same as it was in the past. Even the slightest movement around him couldn't escape his perception. Therefore, even if he was the only invigilator in the entire examination hall, he wasn't worried that others would be able to cheat under his watch. Tang Yu, if those 2 eyes of yours continue to wander around, it'll be like 2 rotating Earths. Before you make a big mistake, quickly pull back from the precipice. Sima Fu, do your own test properly. Don't have any evil thoughts. If you have evil thoughts now, how are you going to educate your students in the future? Sun Zhongwen, what's wrong with your neck? Do you want me to call the imperial physician to treat it for you? Eyes in 6 directions, ears in 8 directions. He was referring to Li Zixuan's current state. Those who rolled their eyes, raised their heads, and craned their necks were all called out by Li Zixuan. It was not that these people were cheating, but they were just a little bit restless. Li Zixuan's purpose was to nip these restless people in the bud. After all, It wasn't easy to recruit a teacher. He couldn't let them go down the wrong path and ruin the reputation of the teaching team. However, it was inevitable that some people would be wrongly accused. When the middle-aged teacher named Sun Zhongwen heard Li Zishuan calling his name, he immediately became anxious. Yamacho, my neck was stiff when I slept last night. If you don't believe me, you can come and take a look. I really didn't have any evil thoughts. Li Zishuan saw the way this guy was talking to him with his head tilted, and he couldn't help but find it funny. Yes, I know. I've wronged you. You can continue answering the questions. Oh, Sun Zhongwen answered in a muffled voice, and then lowered his head laboriously. Although there was such a small episode, none of the teachers dared to let their guard down. They were conquered by Li Zishuan's keen eyesight. Under this 360-degree, omnidirectional, and tight surveillance, anyone who wanted to plagiarize would be courting death. A few people who wanted to take the crooked path immediately put away their little schemes and began to do the test questions seriously. Li Zishuan was secretly pleased. In his previous life, he was the flower bud of the motherland. Being invigilated by the teachers was a common occurrence. In this life, he was the one invigilating the teachers. The changes in the world were truly unpredictable. In the other examination room, although the three old men were not as observant as Li Zishuan, they had the advantage of numbers, so there were no signs of cheating. At 9:45 a.m., the gongs and drums of the academy rang, and the examination rooms on both sides collected the papers at the same time. No matter if they had finished the exam or not, the papers in their hands were all collected. Phew, the exam is finally over. Brother Ma, how did you do? I heard that the classics exam was set by old Mr. Li and Mr. Yin. I don't think it was very difficult, right? Su Hongji put away his pencil. The academy had already started to use pencils everywhere, stood up, and asked Ma Zhou with a smile. Ma Zhou shook his head. There was no joy or sadness on his face. He only said faintly, I thought so too, but after finishing the exam, I became uncertain. The exam this time was not easy. Brother Su, how did you do? You are a grandmaster in mathematics, so you should have done well. Su Hongji smiled bitterly and said, with my little knowledge, how could I dare to call myself a grandmaster in mathematics? Yamacho is the real grandmaster in mathematics. In my opinion, all the exams this time were difficult. After all, we're going to be teaching students in the future. Yamacho also has high hopes for the students in the academy, so he has to be strict with us. Immediately organize all the teachers to mark the exam papers. First, paste the names of all the exam papers. Then, cross-mark the exam papers between the different departments. Then, let the team leaders of each department conduct a review. Finally, if there are any problems, let me do the final review. In the academy's conference room, Li Zishuan pointed to the stack of exam papers on the table and said to Yin Silu beside him, Okay, I understand. I will arrange it now. Yin Silu nodded and was about to assign tasks to the teachers of each department. Oh, by the way, there is one more thing. Mr. Yin, wait a moment. Li Zishuan suddenly remembered something and hurriedly stopped Yin Silu. He added, Immediately inform all the students that there will be no rest on Saturday and Sunday this week. There will be a military training exercise next Monday. After the exercise, there will be a 3-day break, and classes will officially start after that. The class with the last performance will be responsible for cleaning the academy for a month. Yin Silu was stunned. Yamacho, you mean there will be no rest this week? If the students know about this, won't they make a fuss? Li Zishuan narrowed his eyes and replied calmly, It's just a temporary break, not a permanent break. I want to see who dares to make a fuss. Mr. Yin, you just have to arrange for someone to inform the students. Don't worry about the rest. Yin Silu could only nod in agreement. In fact, according to the original plan, Li Zishuan originally planned to hold the military training exercise this Friday. However, many unexpected things happened this week. He had too many things to do, so he could only postpone the military training exercise. If he really wanted to calculate, the students didn't lose out. They even had an extra day of break. Yamacho, is this exercise really that necessary? Wang Ji was a straightforward person and didn't know how to hide anything. He felt that Li Zixuan was doing some meaningless face engineering, so he directly asked. He didn't care if his words would make Li Zixuan angry. Chapter 856. In the meeting room of Guanghua Building. Hearing Wang Ji's accusation, Li Zixuan smiled meaningfully and said, "Of course it's necessary. The students have been training hard for a month. It's time to show us the results and let them see it for themselves. Military training is a learning experience, but it is also a test. I hope that they can bring this spirit of military training to their future studies." Li Gang couldn't help but nod. Well, I agree with Yamacho's point of view. A military training performance is equivalent to posting the students' exam results and letting them compare with each other. It's also good to leave a deep impression on them. You have to know that there are a lot of playboys in this batch of students. We have to let them remember this month's military training. Wang Ji was silent for a while before nodding in agreement. On the field, the students were practicing Tai Chi compared to a few days ago when they first came into contact with Tai Chi Fist. Most of them did not have much enthusiasm for it now. Ultimately, it was because after a few days of learning, they still could not perform the same artistic conception as when Li Zixuan performed Tai Chi Fist. They felt discouraged. However, there were still some people who were obsessed with learning Tai Chi. Most of these students were from the special training class. Yesterday, Chung Chumo and Iron Egg both broke through to the next realm. Although there was no direct evidence to prove that it was because of Tai Chi, humans always like to daydream, especially those who like to have dreams. What if I also broke through after practicing Tai Chi? Would I also have a chance to reach the level of a grandmaster in this life? Therefore, with this belief, the students in the special training class who had a foundation in Kung Fu were very serious when learning Tai Chi. However, they were wrong. Tai Chi wasn't that magical. It didn't mean that practicing Tai Chi would improve one's Kung Fu. Qin Xiong broke through to the next realm because of Tai Chi. That was because he happened to be recovering from his internal injuries. Coupled with his many years of Kung Fu comprehension, he broke through to the next realm. The reason why Chung Chumo and Iron Egg broke through to the next realm because of Taiji was, to a certain extent, a kind of accumulation. After a month of arduous military training, all the muscles in their bodies were fully trained, and their bodies were in a state of hunger. At this time, Li Zixuan happened to teach them the essence of Tai Chi step by step. The two of them crazily absorbed the nutrients and comprehended the Tao in Tai Chi. Only then did they break through the realm. It could be said that the three of them had broken through due to special reasons and special conditions. It wasn't just because he had practiced Tai Chi Fist. It was almost lunchtime. Unexpectedly, Yin Silu, the teaching director of the academy, came to the sports ground. Under his arrangement, the students of the academy gathered in the middle of the field. Yin Silu was now on the rostrum. He said in a deep voice, "I've just received a notice from Yamacho. All the teachers and students of the academy will not rest this weekend. The military training will continue as usual. The academy will hold a military training exercise next Monday. The class with the lowest grades will clean the academy for a month." Whoosh! When they heard that Yin Silu wouldn't have a weekend off, the students immediately exploded. "What? Are you kidding me? I already packed my things last night and was ready to go home today. Now you're telling me that we won't have a weekend off? How can this be? Yeah, why do they have to hold a military training exercise? They've already been trained. What's the point of putting on an exercise? Isn't this unnecessary?" "Exactly. So what if it's a joint exercise? It's also taking up our rest time. This is unfair." "I don't agree." After coming to Yanhuan College for so long, the students had already gotten used to the 2-day rest schedule every 5 days. Why were they able to persevere through the long and painful military training? Wasn't it because they could rest for 2 days after enduring 5 days of military training? It was precisely because there was hope in life that they persisted. Now, the students thought that the military training was about to end. Who knew that Yin Silu would come to them and tell them that there would be another 3 days of military training without rest in between? Most of them couldn't accept this. Therefore, as soon as Yin Silu finished speaking, there was immediately a wave of opposition from below. Yin Silu had already expected this situation. Otherwise, he wouldn't have come to announce this in person. He was afraid that the people below wouldn't be able to control the situation. Okay, everyone quiet down. Although there's no holiday this weekend, after the military training exercise next Monday, the college will have 3 days of holiday. If you have any objections, you can go directly to Yamacho. If you don't have any objections, continue to train seriously. Instructors of each class, in the next 2 days, take the students to practice military posture, formation, and formation. Monday's exercise will include all of these activities, including Taiji Fist. Yin Silu cleared his throat and said loudly. Seeing that Yin Silu said that they would go to Yamacho if they didn't agree, the students below immediately fell silent. Who didn't know that Yin Huang College's Yamacho was a peerless, ferocious person who even dared to beat up the Fengchun 3 heroes? Asking them to go to Li Zishuan to reason with him? Wasn't that just asking for *T death? Moreover, although there was no holiday this weekend, after the exercise next Monday, they could take 3 days off. It seemed that it wasn't that hard to accept. Therefore, as soon as Yin Silu finished speaking, the students who were shouting suddenly quieted down. Seeing this, Yin Silu smiled satisfactorily and left the rostrum. Things were progressing more smoothly than he expected. The main reason was that Li Zishuan's fierce reputation was too widespread. Young master, in the afternoon, Faubert sent someone to deliver a big bag and a small bag. I don't know what's inside, but young mistress said to wait for you to come back before opening it. In the evening, Li Zishuan returned to the Yunshan residence and saw 2 bags on the stone table in front of the door. 1 big bag and 1 small bag. Xiaoxi went up and explained with a smile. Faubert sent something? Then must be something good. Li Zishuan's eyes lit up. He walked to the stone table and quickly opened the bigger bag. He saw 8 beehive-shaped pillows of the same size. Hey, looks like the workshop's rubber technology has made some progress. Li Zishuan exclaimed at his heart. 2 days ago, Faubert sent news that the workshop's rubber research was not going well. It was estimated that the main problem was the ratio of sulfur. The rubber produced did not meet the requirements, so the things that Li Zishuan asked him to make would be made later. Li Zishuan did not blame him. He asked someone to pass a message to Faubert, asking him to take his time and not rush. He did not expect to make something today. Young master, what is this? Why does it look like a hornet's nest? Xiaoxi looked into the bag and asked curiously. Chapter 857. There's good stuff inside. With it, Xiaoxi, you can have beautiful dreams every day. In front of the Yinshan courtyard, Li Zishuan held a natural latex pillow and smiled at Xiaoxi. As for the benefits of natural latex pillows, Li Zishuan, who had experienced the bombardment of the information age, could give a lot of information. For example, anti-mites, anti-allergy, lowering blood pressure, strong elasticity, designed according to the principles of ergonomics, effectively promoting sleep, reducing snoring, suitable for asthma patients, and so on. Cough, cough, of course, it was all thanks to his classmate who opened a latex pillow factory during his undergraduate studies. Under the influence of his classmate, he knew more about natural latex pillows. Young master is lying again. Xiaoxi, don't believe him. Xiaohe, who ran out of the house, heard Li Zishuan and immediately pulled Xiaoxi and snorted. This girl had never been easy to fool. Li Zishuan didn't mind. He held the pillow with one hand and patted it with the other hand. After realizing that the elasticity was not bad, he smiled and said, "Hee hee. So, Xiaohe, you don't believe me?" Xiaohe pouted and said, "Of course I don't believe you. How can such a small thing make people have beautiful dreams every day? Young master, we're not 3-year-old kids. How can we be fooled so easily?" Then, Xiaoxi, do you believe me? N. Xiaoxi believes young master. Xiaoxi thought for a while and nodded crisply. Having such a teammate, Xiaohe couldn't help but stomp her feet. Li Zishuan laughed. If you believe it, then it's true. If you don't believe it, then it's not true. Here, this is a latex pillow. Xiao Shi, take it, young master will give you one. Use this as a pillow at night, and I guarantee you a good dream. As for Xiao He, there's no one, haha. Thank you, young master. Young master, can you give one to Xiao He too? Xiao Shi happily took the pillow and hesitated for a moment before saying. Xiao He used her hand to touch the pillow in Xiao Shi's hand. After feeling the amazing elasticity, she regretted what she said just now. When she heard Xiao Shi pleading for her, she quickly looked at Li Zishuan and used her eyes to express that she also wanted one. Enough, husband. Don't tease her anymore. Han Yushi walked out of the house at this moment and scolded him. After marrying into the Li family for so long, she had already become quite familiar with the two girls. They were basically as close as sisters. Haha, all right, I won't tease you anymore. Take one for yourself. Seeing Han Yushi's Yushi, Xiao He Yushi, Xiao He Yushi, Xiao, and Xiao He Yushi. Thank you, young master. Xiao He was afraid that Li Zishuan would change his mind, so she quickly took out a pillow from her bag and walked into the room with Xiao Shi. She must have brought the pillow into her room. Husband, it's not like we don't have pillows at home. The brainless ancient TV dramas in his previous life were really harmful. Han Yushi nodded and said yes. Husband, this concubine remembers that it was sold in the early years of Wuda. However, the quantity was relatively small. Only some of the truly high-ranking officials and aristocrats would buy it. Ordinary people could only play with those solid meatballs. Husband, can you lend me this ball to take a look? Han Yushi's eyes were very bright as she looked at the ball. Li Zishuan's heart moved and asked, Wife, did you also like to play football in the past? Once the words came out, Han Yushi's cheeks instantly turned red. She bit her lips and said softly, When I was young, I was naughty with Hong Ling and Ah Xiang a few times. Husband, do you think I'm not gentle? Li Zishuan laughed and said, I wouldn't dare. My wife is naturally the most gentle and virtuous in my heart. It just so happens that my husband also likes to play football. Later on, let's have a football game in our residence, haha. Chapter 858. During the Han Dynasty, Kuju had already become popular. At that time, there were two kinds of balls that people kicked. One was simple to make and directly used hair or wool to entangle it. It was called Mao Wan. It was less durable and could not be kicked too far. The other kind was what Yin Shirgu of the Tang Dynasty said, using Wei as the ball, using the material as the substance. Wei was soft leather that was sewn into a ball and stuffed with animal hair. This kind of solid ball easily reminded us of the plastic bag wrap ball that we used to kick when we were young. However, it was more advanced than Mao Wan. At the end of the Eastern Han Dynasty, this kind of ball was commonly used in the Xuchang Imperial Palace. Sports historians believe that this kind of solid ball with a leather shell had appeared in the Shang Dynasty. At that time, the word Ju was changed and there was a Ju dance during the sacrificial ceremony. In the Tang Dynasty, the production of football had a qualitative improvement. It changed from a solid ball to a ball that could be inflated. There were many mentions in the poems of the Tang Dynasty. For example, Gui Shitzi in the Rishio Pai poem said, 8 sharp pieces cut the waves into a ball, in the fire and in the water needed. Zhong Wupa in Fu on Balloon said, follow the rules wholeheartedly. In the beginning, the square becomes round. Use fake hands to fill the seam. In the end, it will not overflow. Su Jian, who was highly valued during the Tang Xuanzong, also described in records of beginning studies, today use the skin with the cell as the inner and with the breath closed, and then kick. Combining these materials, it could be seen that the football of the Tang Dynasty was more commonly called a ball than a Ju. The leather had to go through many processes, such as water kneading and fire roasting. When the ball was made, the leather was first cut into squares, and then the 8 pieces of leather were sewn together to form the outer shell. Of course, the outer shell would definitely not be as round as the football made with 32 pieces of leather today. The most important point was that the ball of the Tang Dynasty already had inner bladder, which was the urine of animals. This should be the earliest inner bladder ball in the world. According to the world's sports history, the British invented the inflated ball in the 11th century, which was 300 to 400 years later than the Chinese. The ball of the Tang Dynasty had to be blown with the mouth. After that, the ball could be tied up and the outer shell sewn together. The elasticity of a balloon was definitely much better than a solid ball. It could be kicked higher and was more entertaining. Therefore, the great progress of this equipment led to a major change in the rules of the Tang Dynasty compared to the Han Dynasty. There was a folk game where several people kicked each other. It was called White Fight, surrounding and jumping, not making them fall to the ground. Missing a step is a shame. Not falling for a long time is a joy. There was also a pure competition to see who could kick the ball higher. It was called Kuju. In Wang Wei's The Matter East of Hanshi City, there was a phrase, Kuju flying birds repeatedly. It was referring to this kind of game. After entering the Tang Dynasty, power-based players who could withstand falling and carrying were no longer popular. China's ancient football was locked into the technical style. Instead of the Han Dynasty having 6 goals per side, the 2 sides shared 1 goal. The low goal was changed to a high goal. The side that kicked the ball through the most holes in the net was the winner. The direct confrontation between the 2 sides became an indirect confrontation. Therefore, from the Tang Dynasty onwards, long-distance dribbling attacks no longer appeared. Players were more concerned about stopping the ball and shooting skills. Of course, Li Zishuan did not know about these situations, and he did not need to know. What he wanted to do was to bring modern football and its rules to the Tang Dynasty. Wouldn't it be great if the Celestial Empire could hold another World Cup every 4 years? Anyone who did not come was not giving the Great Tang face. And if they did not give the Great Tang face, husband, this ball is lighter and more flexible than the hollow ball sold in Chang'an. How did Faubert and the others do it? Han Yushi took the ball from Li Zishuan's hands and tried it. She was surprised. Li Zishuan smiled naturally and said, "Haha, this is made by the workshop with the latest technology and materials. In the whole Great Tang, only our family can do it. Even if other people know the method, they can't do it." Ha! Han Yushi returned the ball to Li Zishuan and asked, "Husband, are you going to give this ball to the students?" As Li Zishuan's pillow, Han Yushi knew that her husband was not interested in making money now. Therefore, she guessed that this kind of light and flexible ball should be specially made by Li Zishuan for fun. Yes, that's right. If we don't give those little bastards some entertainment, they will always be so bored that they will cause trouble. Li Zishuan put away the football and walked into the house with Han Yushi as he replied. In fact, the football was not all prepared for the students. It was also prepared for himself. He also wanted to play football. In his previous life, he was a fake football fan. Because his body was weak, he could not take it after running for a while. Therefore, he was just a fan off the field. Usually, he only watched football games and rarely played in the field. Of course, he only watched football games of other countries. It was not that he was not patriotic, but it was his country's football. In this life, he was strong, rich, and in a high position. He wanted to develop football in the Great Tang and build a strong football country to make up for the regrets of his previous life. If he wanted to promote football, of course, he had to start from the academy. After all, more than half of the 2nd generation of officials in Chang and gathered here. But husband, isn't the academy a place for students to study? Han Yushi asked. Hey, I don't know if my wife has heard of combining work and rest. And I think that only students who know how to play will have good grades. If they don't even know how to play, how can they study? Haha, I'll add some patterns to this ball. My wife, go ahead. The next day, Saturday, the students who were supposed to be on holiday were still bitterly undergoing military training in school. It was worth mentioning that some parents saw that their children did not return home yesterday and were afraid that there would be an accident. Last night, they personally went to Yanhuang College to inquire about the situation. After knowing that the academy was on holiday, they left with peace of mind. Through word of mouth, more and more people knew that Yanhuang College was on holiday. The parents who had not yet gone to Yanhuang College to inquire about the situation also saved an extra trip. Sigh, boring. If it was in the past, I would still be lying in bed sleeping. The evil military training, the the evil reassignment. During the break between classes, Sun Ziffin lay on the grass on his back and sighed with a tired expression. It's boring, but there are only a few days left. After that, we can officially start classes. By then, it should be much more interesting. Li Tai rubbed his increasingly shriveled stomach and said in a muffled voice. The belly that he was proud of in the past was gone. Lanru, F***CK, I'm going to pee. It's time for military training again. Sun Ziffin suddenly stood up from the grass like a carp rolling on the ground. Coincidentally, at this moment, a black and white ball-shaped object whizzed over and hit Sun Ziffin in the face in the blink of an eye. Bam! The little funny guy just got up and fell down magnificently again. Chapter 859. F***CK. Which idiot kicked me in the face? Sun Ziffin, who was lying on the ground, recovered from the sudden attack of the unidentified flying object. He opened his mouth and was about to curse, but when he opened his eyes, he immediately stopped the curse that was about to come out of his mouth. It's little sister Lan. Why are you here to play? That's right, what entered his eyes at this moment was a little girl in pink with bright eyes and white teeth. Who else could it be other than Lan? In the past, when Li Zixuan was teaching at the Imperial College, he would occasionally bring Lan to the Imperial College. In addition, the current Yinhuan College was very close to Li Zixuan's courtyard, so Lan would come here to play from time to time. Therefore, Sun Ziffin knew that this little girl was Li Zixuan's biological sister. It was precisely because of this that he hurriedly stopped the curse that was about to come out of his mouth. Little brother, you know me? I'm sorry. Lan didn't do it on purpose. Are you okay? Sun Ziffin knew Lan but Lan didn't know him. The little girl was first surprised, then quickly asked with an apologetic expression. No, I'm not. Hey, Lan, don't worry about him. This guy has rough skin and thick flesh. What can happen to him? Can you tell Brother Qin Ke where this ball came from? Sun Ziffin was just about to politely say that he was fine when Li Tai, who was beside him, interrupted. This guy was still holding the ball that Lan had just kicked over. F***CK. Qin Ke, what do you mean? How do you know that I'm fine? Sun Ziffin, who felt ignored, jumped up and said angrily. His head was still dizzy and his eyes were still swollen. The ball just now hit his eye socket. If the perpetrator was someone else, he would definitely have punched and kicked him directly. Why would he be so polite? It was just that Sun Ziffin felt a little strange at his heart. I was just a little girl. How could she have so much strength to kick the ball so fast? What's wrong? Could it be that Lan kicked you and hurt you? Besides, do you look like you have something to do? Li Tai did not know the inside story. He rolled his eyes and retorted. Sun Ziffin was at a loss for words. He wanted to say that he had something to do, but with Lan standing in front of him, how could he say that? Hey, Sister Lan, quickly tell Brother Qin Ke where you bought this ball. Does the Curious Interest Pavilion sell it? Li Tai glanced at Sun Ziffin proudly before smiling at Lan. Li Tai took a liking to such a delicate, light, and bouncy ball at first glance. Although he was not very good at playing football, he loved to play football since he was young. Therefore, when the ball just flew over, his eyes basically did not move away. Of course not. Brother Qin Ke, give me back the ball. Lan snatched the ball over and said proudly. Sun Ziffin, did Lan kick you just now? What do you think? Are you all right? At this moment, Li Zixuan walked over and asked Sun Ziffin, who had one eye blue. Just now, he was playing football with Lan at the side of the field. It was the kind of simple kicking. He was careless and did not control his strength well, causing the ball to fly to Lan side at a faster speed. Lan foot just touched the ball, and before she could exert any strength, the huge rebound force caused the ball to fly out at an extremely fast speed. It just happened to hit Sun Ziffin, who had just climbed up from the grass. Other people were shot while lying down, but he was still hit when he climbed up. It could only be said that when some people were unlucky, even drinking cold water would get stuck in their teeth. It's fine. Yamacho, don't worry, it's fine. Sun Ziffin saw that Li Zixuan had also come and hurriedly waved his hand. Li Tai could only put away the idea of fooling the little lowly at this moment. If Li Zishuan did not come, he was prepared to trick the ball from Lan Er's hand. Now, the original plan could only be ruined. Are you really all right? If there's something wrong, I can take you to see a doctor. Li Zishuan asked again to confirm. In the end, this matter was his fault. Although he was in a high position, he was not unreasonable and liked to receive special treatment. Sun Ziffin's eyes lit up when he heard that he could be released from medical treatment. He was tempted, but after thinking about it, he still shook his head and said, Yamacho, don't worry, it's really fine. His injury was not serious. He did not want to make Li Zishuan feel that he was deceived because of the doctor's diagnosis. The loss outweighed the gain. Okay, since you're fine, then the two of you should focus on your military training. Don't embarrass me during next week's military training joint performance. Class 1 of Yanwang College was personally taught by Li Zishuan. Although he was now the Yamacho of the entire academy and should logically treat all the students of the academy equally, he still had special feelings for Class 1 in his heart. Hey, I know, Yamacho. Don't worry, we definitely won't embarrass you. Sun Ziffin smiled knowingly and hurriedly guaranteed when he felt the kindness in Li Zishuan's words towards Class 1. Li Zishuan smiled, took the football from Lan Er's hand, and was about to leave with the little girl. Hey, Yamacho, where can this ball be sold? I want to buy one too. Li Tai did not expect Li Zishuan to leave so quickly. He hurriedly shouted behind him. This thing is not sold outside for the time being. Chinke, if you want to play, wait until after school in the afternoon. Li Zishuan smiled. Hey, this is good stuff. I want to play with it after school. Cheng Chimo appeared out of nowhere and said excitedly, Damn, Chonyo, why are you everywhere? Lanner, wait outside for Big Brother for a while. Big Brother is going in to do something. Li Zishuan brought Lan into Guanghua building, gave Lan some instructions, and then walked towards Yin Sila's office. Yo, Yamacho is here. Yin Silu, who was sitting in the office sorting out documents, hurriedly got up and said, Yes, Mr. Yin. Have the test papers been graded? Li Zishuan nodded and walked into the office and asked, Yamacho, you came at the right time. The results of this exam have just been compiled, and you came. Here, this is the summary of the results of this exam. Yin Silu said as he handed over a piece of paper filled with forms. He learned this method of using forms to record information from Li Zishuan. Li Zishuan took the form and began to read it seriously. With just a quick glance, he memorized the results of all the teachers in the academy. Yin Silu was wondering if Li Zishuan had finished reading in such a short time. But then he heard Li Zishuan say, Yes, they're all not bad. Although the questions of this exam were difficult, there were still a lot of teachers who scored high. For example, Ma Zhou from the economics department scored 99 points. Su Hongji from the mathematics department scored 98 points. And Mo Huai from the physics department scored 100 points. And Xiao Dian from the geography department scored 98 points. They were the highest scorers in their respective departments, which also showed how wise Li Zishuan was when he chose them to be the department leaders. Chapter 860. Other than the leaders of each department, the rest of the ordinary teachers also did well. There were 28 people who scored above 90 points, 65 people who scored above 80 points, and 5 teachers who scored above 70 points. Overall, the teachers of the academy did well in this exam. This shows that they have worked hard this month. Later, I'll have to trouble Mr. Yin to inform them that the results of this exam will be included in the year-end assessment. Teachers who scored below 80 points are not allowed to rest on weekends for the next month. Continue to recharge. Oh no, continue to study the teaching materials of this subject. Li Zishuan said as he handed the report card to Yin Silu. Yin Silu was stunned. Included in the year-end assessment? This, Yamacho, you didn't tell them before. Li Zishuan smiled faintly. Why should I tell them? Since I'm a teacher of Yanwang College, I have to treat everything seriously. Whether it's included in the year-end assessment or not, I have to treat everyone equally. I can't take the exam just for the sake of the exam. Yin Silu instantly understood Li Zishuan's intention. He couldn't help but praise, "Wonderful, wonderful." I didn't expect Yamacho to be able to use the human heart to treat people at such a young age. I'm impressed. Using the human heart to treat people? Old Man Yan's analogy is quite appropriate. Li Zixuan sighed in his heart. Then, he said, "Mr. Yan, you flatter me. I'm just following my heart. I don't have such a profound plan. Since the exam is over, Mr. Yin, you can arrange for the departments to start preparing for the normal classes. I won't disturb you." I'll do it as soon as possible," Yin Silla replied. Li Zixuan nodded, then turned around and went out to find Lon. In the evening, the bell rang to signal the end of the school day. In the principal's office, Li Zixuan habitually got up to pack his things and prepare to go home for dinner. There was a series of knocks on the door, followed by Cheng Chumo, Li Tai, Li Changxian, and the others. Zhang Sun Chong, Fang Yizhi, and Chu Yinfu were among them. "Hey, Yamacho, didn't we agree to play football after school? Why are you running away?" Who else but Cheng Chumo would dare to speak to Li Zixuan so rudely? However, this guy knew that he had to protect Li Zixuan's dignity as a Yamacho in front of others, so he didn't call him by his name. Instead, he called him Yamacho. Li Zixuan was speechless. He did say that they would play football after school, but he said that they would play football after dinner. These King bastards obviously didn't even eat before coming over to harass him. They were really so focused that they forgot to eat and sleep. They weren't this enthusiastic when they were studying. "Run your ass. I'm going home for dinner. Why are you saying that I'm running away?" Li Zixuan said angrily. Cheng Chumo took 2 steps back and laughed. "I'm just kidding, he. Besides, we haven't eaten yet. Yamacho, are you not embarrassed to eat by yourself? Eating and drinking is a matter of course. Why would I be embarrassed?" Li Zixuan said lightly. Li Chengxian saw that Cheng Chumo was making things worse, so he took over the conversation and said, "Xiaoxian, you can go back to eat first. As for that ball, I wonder if you can lend it to us to play with?" This kid finally spoke like a human. Li Zixuan nodded and took out the black and white football from under the table. He handed it to Li Chengxian and said, "You guys can go ahead and play. When I go down later, I'll ask Mo Zhong and the others to move the net to the sports field. I'll teach you guys how to play after I go home and eat." Li Chengxian took it, but Cheng Chumo said smugly, "Hey, Yamacho, you're looking down on us. Take me, for example. I've been playing since I was 6 years old. You actually said that you're going to teach us how to play, huh?" Li Zixuan couldn't be bothered to talk nonsense with this guy. He rolled his eyes and said, "You won't say that when the time comes." Then he left the office. "Hey, what do you mean? Yamacho, you have to be clear," Cheng Chumo asked with some dissatisfaction, but he didn't get any answer at all. "Hey, what do you mean? Yamacho, you have to be clear? Clear my ass. If you want to play, then don't play. If you don't play, then we'll play. Damn it." Li Tai took the football from Li Chengxian's hands and said angrily. After listening to Li Zixuan say "damn it" for so long, he finally had the chance to test it on someone else. It felt so good. Cheng Chumo was furious. F*CK. Chinke, why are you talking to Xiaoxian now? F*CK, wait for me. Half an hour later, Li Zixuan had dinner in the courtyard and went to the sports field of the academy. Because it wasn't appropriate for him to do strenuous exercise after dinner, he didn't eat much at night. What? You're saying that a martial arts grandmaster can feel hungry? Isn't that nonsense? A martial arts grandmaster's legs were just a little awesome. He wasn't a god, so of course he would feel hungry. At this time, on the sports field, Cheng Chumo, Li Tai, and Li Chengxian were playing in full swing. However, Li Zixuan had never seen them play like this before. It wasn't even played like this in period dramas. The few of them kicked the ball in front of each other, and the side who received the ball had to pass it to the other side before it fell to the ground. It seemed that the purpose of this style of play was to kick the ball back and forth so that the ball would never fall to the ground. Actually, the scientific name of this style of play was white hit. Although this style of play lacked competitive spirit and looked boring, it still tested the ability of a player's legs. After all, to make the ball never fall to the ground, strength, angle, and timing of the kick were all indispensable. What surprised Zishuan was that Li Tai, this damn fat otaku, could actually walk a few rounds between Chung Chumo and Yuchi Baoan. Looking at the way he played the ball, it looked like he had some form of play. It didn't match his previous fat otaku image at all. F*CK, Chung Chumo, why are you using so much strength? Who the F*CK can catch this kind of ball? F*CKU, this ball is yours. F*CK, Sun Ziffin, did you not eat dinner? You passed the ball like a girl. This ball is yours. F*CKU. Li Zishuan was speechless. This little fatty kept saying F*CKU and F*CKU. Where did he learn this from? Why did he sound so similar to the young lady in Chun Xiang 630 in his previous life? This kid, in my opinion, other people shouldn't call him Wei Wang. They should call him Sister Wang in the future. Li Zishuan mischievously thought in his heart. Okay, stop. I'll teach you the real way to play football. Chapter 861. Yamacho is here. Li Zishuan's shout from the side of the field made this group of youths who were in the midst of kicking the ball instantly stop what they were doing. Yamacho, this ball is so easy to kick. Even the best ball workshop in Chong, and can't make a ball with such good elasticity. Is this a new product from Chitsu Pavilion? Are you selling it? Li Tai lifted the ball with the tip of his foot. He moved closer to Li Zishuan and said with shining eyes, Sell? You're thinking too much. This ball is not for sale at the moment. Currently, rubber was a non-renewable resource for Li Zishuan. He didn't want to waste it on football. At least, before he found a stable source of rubber, he wouldn't let the workshop mass-produce footballs to sell. Why not? Even if this thing is rare, you can sell it at a higher price. If you don't want to make money, Yamacho, are you stupid? Li Tai said unwillingly when he heard this. Because he and Li Chengxian owned shares in Chitsu Pavilion. Their monthly dividends were comparable to their previous year's income. Therefore, the little fatty was not short of money now. Are you itching for a beating now? Do you want me to help you loosen your muscles? Li Zishuan glared at the little fatty and said angrily, Yes. Qin Kei is itching for a beating. Yamacho, help him loosen his muscles. Chung Chumo shouted. Chung Chumo was already unhappy with Li Tai's, your sister, but he couldn't scold back because Li Tai's sister was Changle. How could he scold her? Li Tai was furious. Damn, Chung Chumo, enough. I'm not here to listen to you bastards bicker. I'm here to teach you how to play football. Li Zishuan clapped his hands to signal the two of them to shut up. Then he said, No matter what you called this type of ball in the past, from now on, it only has one name, and that is football. Football, as the name suggests, is a ball that is kicked by the feet. Under normal circumstances, it is not allowed to be touched by the hands. At this point, Li Zishuan snatched the football from Li Tai's hands and stepped on it. The way you play football is completely different from the way you played it before. In the future, Yanhuan College would hold football matches from time to time. The goal of the match was to shoot the ball into the opponent's goal as much as possible. Every goal scored would earn 1 point. At the end of the match, the team with the most points would be the winner. If the score is the same within the legal time of the match, it would be decided according to the rules of the match. The winner could be decided by drawing lots, playing overtime, or shooting a 12-yard penalty shot. Li Zishuan saw the puzzled looks on the faces of the guys in front of him, so he turned around and pointed to the white net on the other side of the field. He said there, That's the goal. Every side has its own goal. If you want to win the match, you must break through the encirclement and kick the ball into the opponent's goal. Do you understand? The goal was not technically difficult. The workshop made it in 1 day. Hey, this is interesting. Yamacho, is there a prize for winning or losing the match? Li Zishuan introduced this new way of playing football. Li Tai was enraptured when he heard Li Tai. He laughed. Prize? Damn, does this little fatty want to bet on the ball or win the match himself? Why does it feel like it's the former? Li Zishuan looked at him indifferently and said, Since it's a match, of course there will be a prize if you win. I say, you brat, aren't you focusing on the wrong thing? I'm talking to you about the rules of football. Hee hee, it's good that there's a prize. It's more exciting when there's a prize. Li Tai did not care about Li Zixuan's criticism and muttered to himself, Yamacho, how many people can each side have in this football match? Zhang Sunchong had been in the academy for a long time, and he finally spoke to Li Zixuan. Li Zixuan shifted his gaze to Zhang Sunchong's face. Of course, he knew that this ordinary-looking young man in front of him was the son of the current prime minister, the old fox who would have power over the court in the future. He had always been wary of Zhang Sun Wuji. As for Cui Shanfu, who often bit him, he had never taken him to heart, because a dog that did not bark was the most threatening. He would bite you if you're caught off guard. That's a good question. In this football match, each side can have a maximum of 11 players, including a goalkeeper who will stand in front of the goal to block the ball. In the football match, other than the goalkeeper who can use his hand to touch the ball in his own penalty area, every player on the field can only use their other body parts other than their hands to control the ball. Of course, it's another case for out-of-bounds balls. Other than that, once a player's hand touches the ball, it's considered a foul. Li Zixuan chuckled and answered, What happens if it's a foul? Chu Yinfu also asked. Li Zixuan pondered for a moment and said, As for the definition of a foul, it's more complicated. I'll explain it to you in detail later during the match. Let's talk about the referee first. In every match, there must be at least one referee. The referee's role is to take corresponding action when a player commits a foul. Depending on the severity of the foul, the referee can show a yellow card or a red card to the player. If the academy receives a red card or accumulates 3 yellow cards, the player will be directly sent off the field. F***CK. So troublesome. Yamacho, let's play a game first. Let's talk about these rules while we play. There were too many rules. Cheng Chumo's head was a little dizzy after listening to them. Finally, he couldn't help but shout. Li Zixuan glanced at this guy and thought that some things really had to be combined with reality to make people remember clearly. So he nodded and said, Okay, then let's try to play a game first. If there's a foul, I'll blow the bamboo whistle directly, and then I'll tell you where the foul is. Okay. Let's play a game first. Sun Zifen shouted. He already had this idea, but he wasn't as brave as Cheng Chumo and didn't say it directly. The others naturally didn't have any objections. Li Zixuan looked and said, There are a total of 8 people here. You four could be a team. Divide into 2 teams and experience what football is like first. Okay, I'll be in a team with Cheng Chumo. I'll be in a team with Green Sparrow. In a moment, the 8 people were instantly divided into 2 teams. Cheng Chumo, Sun Zifen, Yuchi Baolin, and Zhang Sunchong were in one team. Li Tai, Li Changxian, Li Ku, and Chu Yinfu were in the other team. This wasn't a regular game, and Li Zixuan didn't let them choose sides by tossing copper coins. Seeing that the 2 teams had chosen sides, Li Zixuan placed the ball in the center of the field, pointed at Cheng Chumo, and said, You'll kick off. This is good. I'll do it. Cheng Chumo excitedly came to the football as if he had won the lottery. He looked at the opposite goal, took a deep breath, gathered his internal strength, and kicked out like lightning. Go for me. Li Zixuan didn't even have time to react before the football rushed directly from the midfield to the opponent's goal. To be precise, it flew directly to the opponent's goalkeeper, Chu Yinfu. F***CK. Are you F***King acting in Kung Fu football? Chapter 862. Huff. Cheng Chumo had just made an unexpected breakthrough 2 days ago, and he was feeling smug at the moment. His kick was really powerful, and he used up all the strength in his body. He wanted to see what kind of effect a kick with all his strength would have. The football whistled in the wind, and it even stirred up some leaves on the ground as it moved forward. It was like a tornado passing through. It was powerful and unstoppable. Oh wow, that's awesome. Sun Zifen, who was in the same team as Cheng Chumo, couldn't help but be stunned. At this moment, he could even imagine the following situation in his mind. With Cheng Chumo leading them, they would be invincible, give the opponent a 5-0 score, and finally win. At this moment, he was really glad that he had made a wise decision to team up with Cheng Chumo. But Chu Yinfu, who was standing in front of the goal, was about to cry. Damn it. I'm here to play football, not to play with my life. He wasn't stupid. He knew that if this ball hit him, he would definitely be seriously injured and would have to lie in bed for at least a few months. Dodge. Almost subconsciously, Chu Yinfu wanted to dodge this lightning fastball. But driven by Cheng Chumo's immense inner strength, this lightning fastball arrived at a distance of 10 feet in front of the goal in the blink of an eye. How could Chu Yinfu have a chance to dodge? Bam! Just as Chu Yinfu was feeling a little desperate, a handsome young man suddenly flew in front of the goal. Yes, he did fly over. The young man swung his right foot in the air and kicked the slightly upper half of the football. With a bang, the football quickly bounced back, but it didn't hit the opponent's goalkeeper, Yuchi Baolin. Instead, it flew to a place outside the field where there was no one. Huff! Scare me to death. Chu Yinfu wiped the cold sweat on his forehead and patted his chest with a look of lingering fear. Only then did he have time to look at the young man who had blocked the ball for him. Who else could it be other than Li Ku? Among their team members, only Li Ku knew martial arts. Moreover, his martial arts attainment was higher than Cheng Chumo's. Thank you, Han. Wang. Roar. Chu Yinfu stepped forward and was about to thank Li Ku when he heard an extremely miserable howl from the other side of the field. Everyone couldn't help but look over. They saw Cheng Chumo lying on the grass with both hands hugging his butt and shouting, "Ow! Stop hitting me! Stop hitting me! I know I was wrong." And behind him, Li Zishuan was fiercely kicking his butt. "I told you to use your inner strength. It was just for fun. Who the hell asked you to use your internal energy? F***CKU. What if someone gets hurt?" Li Zishuan cursed loudly as he fought. He did this for Cheng Chumo's own good. That guy's kick, which contained internal energy, made the football rush to the other side of the goal at high speed. If Li Ku had not flown over to block at the crucial moment, according to the trajectory of the football, the ball should have hit Chu Yinfu's lower left abdomen. Although it was not fatal, it would have seriously injured Chu Yinfu. How could this be? Who was Chu Yinfu? He was the son of Chu Suiliang, the head of the Secretariat. Chu Suiliang was good at calligraphy and had a very high reputation among the scholars. If his son was seriously injured because of playing football in the academy, the repercussions would be no small matter. Even if Cheng Chumo was not afraid of anything, he would not want to get into such big trouble. At that time, Li Zishuan would also be blamed for negligence of duty. Moreover, it was Li Chengxian who had personally asked Chu Suiliang to help inscribe the plaque for Strange Interest Pavilion. At that time, Li Zishuan was still a nobody. Although Chu Suiliang was willing to inscribe the plaque for him because of Li Chengxian's face, he still had to accept this favor. At this time, Li Zishuan had made a move at the crucial moment to save Chu Yinfu from danger. In order to prevent Chu Yinfu from holding a grudge against Cheng Chumo, Li Zishuan had to make the first move. With a flying kick, he directly kicked the unprepared Cheng Chumo to the ground. In order to help Chu Yinfu vent his anger, he put on a fierce look and kicked Cheng Chumo's, but with all his strength. He was not worried about kicking Cheng Chumo. After all, the butt was the most fleshy part of the human body. It was not easy to kick it. Otherwise, when you did something wrong when you were young, your parents would only spank you. That was the logic. Yes. Who told you to be dishonest? You used internal energy to play football. Damn you. You deserve to be spanked. Our sister King also ran over to join in the fun. It was rare to have a chance to kick Cheng Chumo's, but for free. How could he let go of this opportunity? Sun Zifan looked hesitant. He also wanted to join in the fun, but Cheng Chumo was his teammate. How could he have a nerve to do something like beating his teammate? In the distance, Chu Yinfu saw that Li Zishuan and Li Tai had personally helped him vent his anger. He did not feel that Cheng Chumo was deliberately targeting him and wanted to injure him seriously. That was because there was no enmity between him and Cheng Chumo. The two of them even had some friendship. Cheng Chumo had no reason to use underhanded means. Oh, it was underhanded means. He probably did not control his strength well for a moment. Quickly go and apologize to Chu Yinfu. If you can't ask for forgiveness, you can forget about playing football for the rest of your life. Li Zishuan kicked a few more times and said sternly to Cheng Chumo. After all, this guy had almost seriously injured him. If he did not give a decent punishment, it would be hard to convince the crowd. Ouch. Okay. Yamacho, stop kicking. I'll go and apologize. Cheng Chumo scrambled to his feet. When he was lying on the ground, he also understood the consequences of his hot-headed kick. If he had seriously injured Chu Yinfu, Cheng Chumo would definitely beat him to death when he went back. Moreover, with the label of harming a fellow disciple, he would not be able to stay in the academy in the future. Cheng Chumo limped to Chu Yinfu and said sincerely, Yinfu, I was wrong just now. I just broke through 2 days ago and was excited. I didn't control my strength when I kicked you. I swear, I didn't mean to target you. Before he could finish, Chu Yinfu waved his hand to stop him. I know you didn't mean to target me, Cho Ox, and I didn't take it to heart. It's just a game. You don't have to take it to heart. Hearing this, Cheng Chumo grinned and said, Hee, Yinfu, you're straightforward. I'll recognize you as my brother. In the future, at the academy, recognize your head. I asked you to apologize, but you came to recognize me as your brother. Li Zishuan slapped the back of Cheng Chumo's head. Cheng Chumo cried out in pain and said, Yamacho, I've apologized. Yinfu has forgiven me. Chu Yinfu hurriedly said, Yamacho, please forgive Cho Ox. I didn't blame him. Li Zishuan looked at the two of them, thought for a while, and said, From now on, in regular football matches, players are not allowed to use martial arts on the field. The academy will set up a football association in the future. Players who use martial arts on the field without permission will be banned for life in the entire Tang Empire. Chapter 863. After reprimanding Cheng Chumo, Li Zishuan guided the group of players for half an hour to familiarize them with the rules of football. During this period of time, no one dared to use their internal strength without permission. However, those who knew Kung Fu had an advantage over ordinary people in terms of reaction time and speed, even if they didn't use their internal strength. Fortunately, both sides had players who knew Kung Fu. Cheng Chumo's side had 2 players who knew Kung Fu. Li Qingqian's side only had 1 player, and that was Li Ke. Compared to Cheng Chumo and Yuchi Baolin, Li Ke was born in the royal family and had been practicing Kung Fu since he was a child. Naturally, the resources he had were incomparable to the other 2 players. In addition, Li Ke was gifted and talented in Kung Fu. His Kung Fu foundation and attainments were naturally more solid. Therefore, although their side had fewer players who knew Kung Fu, with Li Ke's outstanding individual ability, both sides were still evenly matched. In the end, they tied with a score of 2-2. The score of 2 in half an hour, and so many goals were scored mainly because each team only had 3 players who were fighting on the field. The field was so big that it was not easy to defend. Many times, a single player could go straight in and attack the enemy directly. That was why so many goals were scored. Beat! Li Zishuan blew his bamboo whistle and made a stop gesture. The 8 players on the field stopped what they were doing and gathered in front of Li Zishuan. Yamacho, this way of playing is 2F** king exciting. Let's play another game. It's not satisfying at all. Football was a very magical sport. In his previous life, it was known as the world's #1 sport. It was the most influential sport in the world of sports. Football is war. Modern football coach, General Michaels' words, every man fantasizes about war from a young age. Football is the game with the highest degree of simulation of war. Moreover, it is a war between 2 armies, a war of cold weapons on the battlefield. That kind of grand narrative is very romantic and exciting for men. Compared to the previous style of kicking around and not letting the ball fall to the ground, the current style of football was undoubtedly more addictive. After Cheng Chumo finished playing football for half an hour, his adrenaline soared. He was already in a very excited state. He still felt like he wanted to continue, so he suggested to Li Zishuan. Yes, Yamacho, how long had it been? Why don't we play a little longer? Sun Zifen chimed in. He was having a good time just now. Although the 2 goals on their side were scored by Cheng Chumo, He had an assist, which was enough for him to be happy for a while. The rest of the people also looked at Li Zixuan eagerly. Their gazes spoke for themselves. Li Zixuan scanned the crowd and said, "I didn't say I won't kick." Now, all of you are almost clear about the basic rules of football, but there are still too few of you to show the charm of football. Go and find some more people now. At least get 2 full teams, then we'll play another game. If we can't get them together, then we'll have to play another game. Football was the perfect and concentrated embodiment of many elements, but the final measurement was extremely simple and clear. A real war was a direct confrontation of the comprehensive abilities of 2 countries, but all kinds of factors would eventually translate into the cruel and clear result of victory or defeat. Football was the sport that tested the most comprehensive ability: speed, strength, skill, and teamwork. Now, each team only had 4 people, so they definitely couldn't show the charm of football. Get them together. Get them together. Don't play tomorrow. Play today. As soon as Li Zixuan finished speaking, Li Tai hurriedly shouted, "Yes, yes, yes. Yamacho, don't worry. We'll definitely get them together. We'll go and find them now. In less than a quarter of an hour, we'll definitely be able to get 2 teams together." Sun Zifen hurriedly echoed. What he thought to himself was that it would be too easy to find a few people who could play football. If it really didn't work, they could just kidnap them. The few of them could also kidnap a group of people. "Yes, then you guys go and come back quickly." Li Zixuan didn't care about what they thought. He just waved his hand and said, "Yamacho, I also want to play football. Do you think I can do it? I've been in Bingzhou's football club for 2 years. I'm very good at it." Chung Chumo and the others were about to excitedly pull people over to play football when a student with a medium build and a slightly tan face ran over from the side of the field. The student first bowed to Li Zixuan and then begged eagerly. Then, before Li Zixuan had time to answer, a group of students outside the field ran directly to him and said as they ran, "Yamacho, do you think I can do it? I've been playing football since I was 5 years old, and I clearly remember the rules you just said. I'm the most suitable. Yamacho. Yamacho. I also clearly remember the rules you just said. I'm most suitable. Please choose me. Choose me. Choose me." The field suddenly became a mess. As it turned out, the small-scale football match that Li Zixuan had just organized had attracted quite a number of students who had just finished eating and were preparing to return to the dormitory to watch it. The dazzling passing of the ball, the intense and thrilling running of the ball, as well as the exciting kicking of the ball, all of these made their blood boil, and they cried out in satisfaction. Even if it was only a small-scale 4v4 football game, they felt that it was wonderful. At this moment, when they heard that Li Zixuan wanted to recruit people into the team and have a formal 11v11 football game, how could the students who had been watching outside the field for so long hold back? One must know that there was only one chance. If they missed it, there wouldn't be another chance. There wouldn't be such a bouncy ball anywhere else. And there wouldn't be such an interesting football game. Chung Chumo and the others were relieved when they saw this. The group of people who came from outside the field could definitely make up 2 full teams. Li Zixuan was stunned. He had expected that football would be popular with the majority of students, but he didn't expect that the first official appearance of football would be treated so warmly by the students. Apart from this, what surprised him even more was that from what he heard from these students, each and every one of them was a soccer expert. How could there be so many students who knew how to play football among the students of Yanhuang College? What was going on? Okay, we'll follow the order in which you just ran over. The top 14 who came here and have a foundation in football will be randomly added to these 2 teams. The captain of the first team will be Chung Chumo, and the captain of the second team will be Li Ke. As for the rest of the students who didn't make it into the team this time, please leave the field to watch the game. You'll have plenty of chances in the future. Li Zixuan didn't have time to think about why so many students knew how to play football. He looked at the sky and directly ordered, "Yes, Yamacho." Whether it was those who received the admission ticket or those who wanted to leave, they all responded and began to carry out Li Zixuan's orders. Chapter 864. The Tang people actually loved to play football. The reason why there were so many students who were good at playing football was because of the Tang people's love for football. In the Tang Dynasty, there was a traditional festival that had disappeared today, the Cold Food Festival. It was 105 days after the winter solstice and 1 or 2 days before the Qingming festival. It was said that it was to commemorate Jie Zichui, who would rather be burned to death in the mountains than accept rewards during the spring and autumn period. According to tradition, there was a ban on fireworks and only cold food on this day. In the Qin, Han, and Sui dynasties, there were more activities such as mourning, trekking, swinging, and kuju. In the Tang dynasty, the trend of cold food kuju reached its peak, and it almost became a legal football day. If you didn't go to the suburbs to play football, it would be as if the day didn't pass. In the Tang dynasty, Xuchang poet Wang Jian wrote in a poem, Palace Ci, "The nights make up remains until tomorrow, always standing by the bright sunflower tree. Cold food kuju's wife, long by, first scatter the money in the treasury." This poem had a high citation rate in many ancient sports research articles. The Baida in the poem was a very popular non-goal kicking game during the Tang and Song dynasties. It was played by 2 or more people. Bai Juyi from Xinjiang also wrote a poem, Cold Food, at Luo Qiao. It described the scene on the football field. Kuju's dust doesn't rise, splashing fire on the rain. Other than that, famous poets such as Wang Wei, Li Bai, Lu Yuxi, and Wei Yingwu all mention cold food kuju in their works. Due to the widespread of cold food kuju in the Tang dynasty, Du Fu, who had been wandering all his life, wrote a poem, Qingming. In his later years, he lamented that 10 years of kuju will bring the chick far away. 10,000 miles of swing customs will be the same. Du Fu was born in Gongyi and had been to Luoyang, Shaanxi, Sichuan, Hubei, and other places. This showed that these places had the custom of cold food kuju. The Tang people's love for football could be seen from this. It was completely understandable that so many young people who liked to play football were born in such a big environment. There were many football experts in the Tang dynasty. Although they weren't as famous as the Song dynasty, there were still many of them. For example, Yang Jian and Wu Chongxuan were guests of the Tang Zhongzong's son, Crown Prince Li Zhongjuan. It was also because of this football atmosphere in the Tang dynasty that the Song dynasty produced Gao Qiu and Lu Sanfu. Beep! Li Zishuan blew the whistle and gestured for the game to start. Li Chengqian's side got the right to kick off. Li Tai saw that the other side had so many more players and knew that with his strength, there was no way he could directly break through. He did a side pass and passed the football to Li Chengqian's feet, who was only 10 steps away from him in the front left. Then, he quickly ran forward to provide support. After experiencing Li Zishuan's teachings, Li Tai already knew that in a football match, one could not show off one's bravery. This was a game of 11 people. It would be difficult for one person to have a last laugh if he or she relied solely on one person's recklessness. After Li Chengqian received the ball, he did not dare to be careless because Cheng Chumo was rushing towards him. With that speed, as long as he dared to dribble a few steps, Cheng Chumo would definitely be able to catch up and intercept the ball. On the field, there was no such thing as a crown prince or a minister. Cheng Chumo would definitely not be courteous to him. As a member of the royal family, Li Chengqian had the best and most exquisite ball to play with since he was young. He also loved to play football since he was young, so his basic skills were relatively solid. He looked up and aimed a direction. Then, with a cross pass, he accurately passed the football to Li Huairen's feet. This was a method that they had just researched to deal with players like Cheng Chumo, who had extremely strong individual abilities. It was to continuously pass the ball. This tactic, which emphasized absolute ball control, was somewhat similar to the tiki-taka tactic that Guardiola used during his time as Barcelona's coach in modern times. However, tactics were not the decisive factor in the outcome of a game. The key was whether the players cooperated well with each other. Huairen, catch the ball. After playing for so long, Li Chengqian's blood was already boiling. At this moment, He no longer had the image of a cultured and refined crown prince. His voice had also become louder. That's right. Li Huiran happened to be in the group of people who had just joined. Li Shaogong was a martial arts grandmaster. Even if his son was not as good, he would at least be much better than the average person. There was no problem with Li Chengqian's prediction of where the football would land. He even left a small margin for Li Huiran. However, Li Huiran had just come on the field. It was his first time experiencing such a formal football match. His reactions in various parts of his body could not keep up with the rhythm. When he heard Li Chengqian calling for him, he subconsciously paused. With that pause, the distance between him and the football had become a little too far. It was too late to chase forward because Sun Zifan had already taken the opportunity to close in on the football. Oh wow, the Crown Prince team's ball has been stolen. This little guy's reaction is really fast. Now that Sun Zifan and Li Tai had successfully lost weight, no one called them Little Fatty anymore. Good ball. This should be considered a mistake in Crown Prince's pass, right? What a pity. Bulsh asterisk T. It was obviously that student who was stunned for a moment and could not keep up with His Highness Crown Prince's pass. Do you know how to watch the game? If you don't talk nonsense. After seeing Sun Zifan steal the football, the onlookers outside the field exclaimed, sighed, and cheered loudly. In any case, it was very lively. These people did not have the opportunity to play in person. They could only watch from the sidelines as they competed with Li Chengqian, the country's heir to the throne. The situation here was in full swing, constantly attracting students who had finished eating and were passing by. After a while, the field was already surrounded by a circle of people. There were even some teachers from Yanwang College. Now that they had just finished their exams, they also had time to come out and watch the fun. Beautiful. Zifan, quickly pass it to me. Cheng Chumo saw Sun Zifan steal the football and hurriedly waved to the latter while shouting loudly at the same time. Needless to say, Sun Zifan knew that Cheng Chumo was their team's most important scoring player. After grabbing the ball, he did not hesitate to pinpoint Cheng Chumo's position and pass the ball over. He and Cheng Chumo were only 3 feet apart. At such a close distance, of course, it was more reliable and effective to pass the ball over. The football was seen drawing a straight line on the grass and was about to roll to Cheng Chumo's feet. Suddenly, a dark shadow blocked the football's path. This surefire pass was actually stolen. Wow, there was an uproar outside the field. It's King of Han. So fast. I heard that King of Han knows martial arts. He used martial arts, right? Bulsh asterisk T. What do you know? King of Han relied entirely on his body's reaction. If he used martial arts, do you think that a master like Yamacho would not be able to see it? That's right. Can you be more powerful than Yamacho? What a beautiful grab. Good job, His Highness King of Han. Look, His Highness King of Han is going to counterattack. This is straightforward. He is going to break through the opponent's defense line alone. The onlookers outside the field were completely affected by the players' every move on the field. They sometimes cheered, sometimes shouted, and sometimes sighed. This college under the setting sun was once again filled with vitality at night. Chapter 865. On the field, Liko was like a cheetah running with the ball. His legs were crisscrossing at a very fast frequency. From afar, one could only see the afterimages of his legs crisscrossing, as well as the wisps of grass splashing behind him. Previously, when Cheng Chumo's players saw that they had control of the ball, and that Cheng Chumo was about to dribble the ball to attack the opponent's goal, they began to press toward the other half of the field. But who knew that Li Ku would come out halfway and intercept the pass that they were sure to get? As a result, they had no choice but to break and turn the car around to chase after Li Ku. But since Li Ku was able to intercept Cheng Chumo's ball, how could he be so easy to catch up with? What's more, these people had to change directions midway, so their speed was naturally even slower. Li Ku used his excellent physical reaction to shake off the 3 defenders in the opponent's back half of the field. Then, the entire back half of the field was suddenly flat. Li Ku was delighted and began to pass the ball long and wide. While maintaining a high speed, he also ensured that he had control of the ball. At this time, he didn't need to make any fancy moves. He only needed to make wide and wide movements, rush to the opponent's goal in the shortest time possible, and finish the shot. Otherwise, when Chung Chumo caught up, the result would be hard to say. Oh wow, Han Wang is only 70 to 80 feet away from the goal. He should be about to shoot. Shoot? Why is he shooting? What kind of game were they playing? Why haven't I seen it before? It sounded like he had just arrived and didn't know the rules of the football game. You just arrived, right? This game is a new invention by Yamacho. As long as the ball is kicked into the opponent's goal, it's a score. The team with the most points wins. Oh, I see. That's quite interesting. Look, His Highness Han Wang is going to shoot. This is more ambiguous than words. At this time, Li Ku was already 5 feet away from the opponent's goal. Logically speaking, it was not very safe to shoot from this position, but it was too late because Chung Chumo had already caught up from behind. After all, Chung Chumo's legs were longer than his, and he was running without the ball. It would only take a little time for him to catch up with him. At this time, Chung Chumo was less than 5 steps away from Li Ku. He was within reach. Fortunately, Chung Chumo, a football noob, did not know about foul tactics. Otherwise, he would have reached out to grab Li Ku's clothes. Feeling the movement behind him, Li Ku did not dare to continue dribbling. He slightly adjusted his body's center of gravity and suddenly accelerated forward. He kicked hard at the rolling football in front of him. Boom! The football was hit by a huge force and made a dull sound. Then, it ran towards the opponent's goal at an even faster speed. Bao Lin, be careful. The stadium was like a battlefield, and the situation could change at any moment. Just a moment ago, Chung Chumo's side was attacking the opponent's goal. But in the blink of an eye, they had changed from the attacking side to the defending side. Chung Chumo could not stop him in time. Seeing that Li Ku had already raised his right foot and started to shoot, he shouted in the direction of the goal. Shot! Shot! That ball is so fast. It should be said that His Highness King of Han's counterattack is so fast. It all happened in the blink of an eye. What a thrilling way to play. Just looking at it makes my blood boil. If I could play in person, wouldn't that be awesome? Hey, first of all, you have to have a ball with good elasticity like that. Otherwise, after this match, it would be strange if his leg was crippled. What's wrong? Can't you buy this ball? Since it was brought by Sir, it should be sold at Curious House, right? So what if it's expensive? Why can't I buy it? Huh, you're thinking too much. Just now, His Highness King of Wei went to Yamacho to buy a football, but he couldn't buy one. How can you be richer and more capable than His Highness King of Wei? Hey, stop talking nonsense. Look, King of Han is going to score. This ball is definitely going in. On the field, the goalkeeper, Yuchi Baolin, had already realized that something bad was going to happen after Li Ku bypassed the 3 players in the backfield. After all, he only looked honest, but he was not really stupid. At that moment, he was already prepared. In the face of Li Ku's sudden shot, his eyes were fixed on the ball flying in the air without blinking. At the same time, he was calculating in his mind where the ball was going to shoot towards the goal. Top left corner. When the ball was less than 2 feet away from the goal, Yuchi Baolin moved. He bent his knees slightly, and the developed muscles on his legs bulged instantly. Then he stomped his feet hard on the ground, and his whole body immediately bounced up from the ground, heading straight for the ball's landing point. Li Zishuan did not allow the players to use martial arts, which meant that they were not allowed to use internal energy. Yuchi Baolin had no choice but to use the jumping power of his legs. If he could use martial arts, Yuchi Baolin would definitely be able to defend this simple goal with his lightness skills. Whoosh whoosh. The ball made a whooshing sound in the air, and the landing point seemed to be exactly where Yuchi Baolin's hands were at the top left corner of the goal. Naturally, Li Ku also noticed this. He covered his face and looked extremely regretful. The players on the field, as well as the spectators outside the field, all held their breaths at this moment. They stared unblinkingly in the direction of the goal and guessed in their hearts whether or not the ball would enter the goal. He blocked it. He definitely blocked it. Chung Chumo had already stopped running. He saw that the ball was getting closer and closer to Yuchi Baolin's palms. He waved his arms excitedly and roared in a low voice. Yuchi Baolin had the same idea as Chung Chumo, because his hands could already feel the strong wind from the ball. Hey, I blocked Xiao Ku's shot. The corner of Yuchi Baolin's mouth drew a curve. Sigh. King of Han's shot has been blocked. The spectators outside the field also let out sighs at that moment. Everyone felt that the ball would definitely not go in. Even Li Ku, the initiator of the shot, felt the same way. However, at that moment, something unexpected happened. The ball that was about to touch Yuchi Baolin's palms suddenly changed direction in the air and flew toward the bottom right of the goal at high speed. Bam! The ball went in. Boom! Everyone inside and outside the field exploded, and their eyes widened. F***CK. What's going on? Xiaoko, what did you do to the ball? Chung Chumo's mouth was agape as he asked Li Ku loudly with a puzzled look. He looked at Li Ku again and saw that the lad was also dumbfounded at that moment. This ball, how did it change direction? How did His Highness King of Han make such a kick? Could His Highness King of Han have violated the rules by using his inner strength? Don't talk nonsense. That's not a joke. The students outside the field were first surprised, then puzzled, and then began to whisper among themselves. You're tuning into the Warrior Lore YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.